Did McElroy won?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's why I was calling.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, he won.
All right. Was it emotional?
Yeah, he's like he can't stop crying.
Yeah.
It's like you.
Yeah. Like me watching Soul.
Return to VIDEOTECH.
All right. Well, why don't we let you go, Linz, and we'll talk to you in a bit. All right. Bye.
I'm definitely using something of that for the teaser.
Yeah, you should. No, I mean, Lindsay's like borderline narcoleptic when it comes to watching movies. I mean, she falls asleep during every movie, and it's like, you know how much of a passion it is for me, obviously. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Every time?
That's a problem for me too. How many times have I brought that up? The fact that I fall asleep, like,
Yeah.
movies.
Listen, I put movies on to fall asleep too sometimes, but like, if it's meant to be a viewing, I'm watching it for the most part. For the most part.
Let's just roll right into the show. Maybe I'll start it halfway through that conversation or something. All right. Welcome back, people. This is episode 8 of Return to VIDEOTECH. I'm Keith. With me again is Matt. How's it going, dude?
Good, man. It's good to be back. For those keeping track at home, this is episode 8, and Keith has been sick for 80% of the episodes. People wondering, do we need to put him in a bubble?
This is what happens when you have a kid and drop them off at daycare every day.
It
They
just-
that meme of kids coughing with their mouth completely open. That happens to me every day, constantly, with kids who are not even my kid.
Yes, we need to get you like a hazmat suit.
Yeah, go in there like Bubble Boy.
So, what have you been up to in the time since we all spoke? This is our shortest amount of time between episodes, but due to your constant struggles with illness, we've had
Yeah.
some long stretches of not doing the show. So we tried to do a quick turnaround on this one. So a little bit less probably has happened in between, but let's hear it.
Well, today I had some cool pickups. I went to my local used video game store and I traded in some old Sega Genesis games.
Whoa.
And I picked up a movie we talked about before, but on VHS, Demons.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I'm excited to watch that.
Good looking cover.
Yeah, that movie's awesome. I love
That's
it.
worth it for the cover alone.
Yep. And then also used picks. I didn't have anything come in the mail, but I did pick up a couple other things just like order. Well, no, this is from the used store actually. This one, I don't know if you've heard of this, but I think this looks cool and something you might
It's a
be
little fuzzy
into.
for me. Let me see. Oh, Clint Eastwood.
The Iger
So
sanction?
it's interesting that you hold this up because Kino is having a sale right now, like a March Madness sale, and this is like a fun way for keep things fresh in my relationship. Is like I say things like I'm not going to buy movies for a while. I'm taking a break. I'm taking our life seriously and not spending all of our money on movies. That being said, Keith, I did put in a Kino Lorber order this morning.
When they do sales, I feel like their sales are awesome.
I know
Everything's super cheap.
They have good deals. I mean, because a lot of their stuff is like pretty bare bones, but they have like cool movies from the time period that I'm really interested in. So I'll run through real quick what I picked up if I can actually find the email. So I got.
While you do that, let me read you the back of this, or just a part of the back of it, because this sounds awesome, and it sounds like something you would be into. So the name of the movie again is The Iger Sanction, I think, and stars Clint Eastwood. Apparently, it's also directed by Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
And basically, the gist of it is it's international espionage thriller set in the Swiss Alps, and Clint Eastwood stars as a retired professional assassin who's adapted a calmer lifestyle with a pursuit of art collecting.
Wow.
And then, I'm assuming chaos ensues.
It sounds like something that would be remade with Liam Neeson in the starring role.
Yeah. I don't know. I just read the back of that and I thought it sounded awesome. So
absolutely. No, I actually saw it when I was looking through the Kino Lorber stuff, but I was looking through Kino Lorber stuff forever, and then I was like starting to panic because I'm just like, all right, I got to get this order in. You know what I mean? I'm filling up the cart. And by the way, I get 5 things, and then it's like, okay, do you want to pay $12 for shipping, or if you get one more movie, it's shipping free? It's like,
Yeah.
well, those are my choices. Then yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna get another
a lot
movie.
of a lot of online stores do that for sure.
No, but it's like, yeah, of course. I mean, I would so much rather get one more movie than just pay for shipping and get nothing.
For sure.
So they had me, but I think it's, yes. Am I a mark for their marketing gimmick? Absolutely. But does it make sense? I think so.
All
So
right, you got your cart open?
my card?
Your cart or what you
Oh
already ordered?
no, it's ordered. It's ordered. I can't.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I mean, not to bash on Kino Lorber at all, but I actually don't find their website to be the most user friendly. And
Yeah. Much
I've
like
had
their special features and their releases, they're pretty bare bones.
it's kind of like a slow process, and I feel like I've had situations where I put stuff in my cart and then it's like disappeared because you're like clicking back and forth. Um, so I just with them, I got to be in and out. I got to like get everything that I want and check out.
Mhm.
But I think the only probably like Keith approved item on the list, I did get Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant, the 4K.
Okay. Dude, I actually haven't seen this movie, but it's high up on my list of movies that I want to see because I've been watching some of his movies.
It just feels like a Keith movie, you know?
Yeah. It's like
Uh,
Harvey Keitel, right?
yeah, yeah. Have you ever seen the Bad Lieutenant Protocol New Orleans with Nick Cage?
The what?
It's like a spiritual sequel, Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans. Nicolas
Oh,
Cage is in it.
no, I've never even heard of it.
It's wild. It's I mean it's just a bizarre, weird movie, but him being completely over the top, which is now he does these movies every year, like this type of thing. It's
Mhm.
become the Nick Cage thing where he's in one or two of these
Yeah.
every year. But this was back in like '08 or '09. And
Okay.
yeah, it's part of the Bad Lieutenant family, I guess. Um,
Okay. That's
and
cool.
then I got a bunch of stuff from like the late '60s and '70s. Uh, The Conformist, Fellini's Casanova, Mississippi Mermaid, which is like the original of Original Sin.
Okay.
Remember with Antonio Banderas and Angelina Jolie? That was like a remake,
Uh-huh.
or maybe based on the same source material or something. But um, and then I got that movie. I don't know. Did you ever see this Twilight? It was like a not the vampire one, but there was like a '90s neo noir with like Paul Newman, Reese Witherspoon was in it.
No.
Okay, all right. So I'm striking out, and then I also got The Bride Wore Black, which is
Okay.
I think a late '60s movie where um, a married woman's husband gets killed, and then it's kind of like sounds like Kill Bill esque, where she goes and like kills the guys or goes on
Okay.
this revenge tour after these guys. So, um, quite a haul. Not sure
Mhm.
how thrilled Lindsay is right now listening to this. She finds out, but um, that's what I love about Kino, though. They have a lot of these types of movies, like just that
Yeah.
era that I love.
I feel
And
like Kino and Criterion are like your bag, you know?
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And Kino
Arrow
has like the
sometimes.
biggest out of like all the boutique labels. I feel like Kino has the biggest library.
I
Uh,
know, but they do, like you said, they do those bare bones ones, but you can get these movies for like $9 or whatever when they're on
uh,
sale. And it's like
yeah.
compared to most of the boutique labels, that's like a steal.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
yeah,
So you got a bunch of movies coming in.
yeah. And I also did order the A24 version of The Brutalist, which was actually Lindsay approved.
Oh,
She said you should get that. And I was like, all right, you don't have to tell me twice. What else should we get from the A24 shop while I'm looking? And I
nice.
didn't get anything else. I was like, nah, I'll be good. We'll just get the
Yeah.
one movie. But I will say that Kino haul, I got 6 movies or whatever for the price of what I usually pay for 3 Criterions during the flash sale, you know?
Yeah. So like
So
$10 each probably or something or less.
yeah,
Yeah.
like so you can't really
Yeah.
turn that
Did you
down.
go did you go all 4K or did you get Blu-rays and
No,
4Ks or
it's actually mostly Blu-rays. The
Okay.
only 4K I got was the
Yeah.
Bad Lieutenant one.
I feel like
Um,
neither of us are really like the 4K purist type, you know.
I think sometimes the Blu-rays look better.
Yeah. I
Some
agree.
4Ks look really great, but
Yeah.
I've had some that I mean, I think we've talked about it on the show, but I've had some that I was kind of disappointed with, and
Yeah.
sometimes I watch Blu-rays that I own, and I'm like, I don't know how anything can look better than this.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if you're sitting at a certain distance from your TV or whatever you're watching on too, really sometimes the only difference is like they change the colors a little bit and then there's more
Yeah.
pixels. So if you're sitting far enough back, it's not going to matter. You're not going to be able to
Yeah.
tell unless you're sitting like 3 feet from your TV.
And to be fair, most of the time, I think the 4Ks that I have look pretty sweet. But
Yeah,
sometimes they either look too dark or they've changed the colors in a way that it looks too weird.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do not like when they change the colors, like the color grading of a movie that I've watched a bunch, and then I watch it again and it's different. Like, I see why people get upset about that stuff online.
Yeah.
I think the only one I can really think of off the top of my head is like that World of Wong Kar-wai box that I have. It didn't
Uh-huh.
really bother me, any of those movies, because that was like my first introduction to watching any of those. But I know a lot of people were really upset about those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't seen like much of his filmography, and I mean, even doing this deep dive with some of the directors, some of the stuff that I bought, like Truffaut, Fellini, Bertolucci, like these are all directors who I have not seen a lot of their
Mhm.
catalog, and that's
Yeah.
high on the list for me is still going back in time and doing more of that rather than
Yeah.
spend time with the current era.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, that's a good thing about this show, though. It kind of pushes, for me at least, it kind of pushes me to try new stuff. And that's why, like,
Yeah,
homework is one of my favorite segments of the show that I don't want to kill, even though I feel like we've been talking about, like, shortening the length of the show a little bit or lightening the load a little bit. But I
yeah,
really like that one because I love, like, the movie you asked me to watch this week. It was so good. I loved it, and it's something that
yeah.
I probably never would have watched if you didn't assign it to me. So,
We're gonna keep homework. We just might evolve it a little bit into something
yeah,
where we're actually both watching the movies all the time, so that it's
yeah,
a little bit more of a back and forth and not one of us just explaining to the other
yeah.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Real quick before we end this segment too,
yeah,
I did
please.
want to show you. I kind of went on like an Amazon spree too. And I bought
Yeah.
3 Nicholas Winding Refn movies that I
Oh
just
boy.
didn't have, even though I got Valhalla Rising, Bronson, and Only God Forgives.
Oh wow. Yeah. So I've never seen Valhalla Rising or Bronson all the way through. I've seen parts of Bronson, but I've never sat down for the whole viewing of it. Only God Forgives is like a tough watch, I think.
That's the one that I think I watched once back when it came out, and I don't think I liked it, so I never gave it a second chance. But I'm ready to give it a second chance now. But Bronson, I love Bronson.
Yeah.
I'll pick that eventually for something. I love Tom Hardy in that, and it's an insane movie.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I do need to watch that one all the way through.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's like super jacked in that too, right? Like
Uh-huh.
Bane.
Yeah, that I was gonna say that's the one where I feel like this happens sometimes when an actor gets cast as like a high profile character from like a known property, like Bane. He got cast as Bane, and people were like, "Oh, dude, like," or not everybody, but some people were like, "Oh, I don't know if Tom Hardy can be Bane," and I was like, "Well," thinking to myself, like,
Yeah.
you should watch Bronson, and then you will know that he will be a perfect Bane.
Yeah. You may have had that conversation with me.
We might have had that conversation, yeah,
Well, you had the foresight that I just didn't have at that time.
yeah.
Because I do think Tom Hardy is great as Bane.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Even though the voice is nuts, but it's just, it's become one of those things. Like, I was like, one of the things that I've done the past week, like leading into the last show and then following it, is I was rewatching the Trip movies, which I know I've talked to you about, and they're movies that I like quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
But in the second one, I mean, it is just these two guys. It's Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, and they're just hanging out, eating meals, but they're both really good at doing impressions. So they do a lot of movie impressions, and there's a whole bit that they do about The Dark
The
Knight
Bane.
Rises where they're doing Bane and Christian Bale doing Batman, and they're like, basically it's a competition to see which one was more indecipherable in the movie. So that's in the Trip to Italy, I think. But
I
yeah, I
won't
did watch
torture
those.
you with another Bane impression. I've already done that once on the show.
But yeah, those movies I watched again, and then I'll just say I've been rewatching the HBO original series Sharp Objects. Which, did you watch
Oh,
that?
I really liked that show. It's
Yeah.
been a while. I watched it when it first came out, but there's
Mhm.
only one season, right?
Yeah, it was just like a mini
Yeah.
series.
Yeah. It's funny
But
you bring that up because I also binge watched the first 2 seasons of White Lotus for the first time
what did you think?
over the last week or so. And I'm
Yeah.
like part of the way through the new season just because everybody at work's even talking about season 3.
Yeah, it's
Um,
weirdly turned into one of those water cooler shows in a way that you wouldn't have thought.
yeah.
I guess I wouldn't have thought, I should say, like Game of Thrones or whatever, where people are talking about it right after it airs, because we
Uh,
barely have those shows anymore.
yeah.
But
No,
White
for
Lotus has
sure.
made its way to that.
Yeah, I'm like in my weekly marketing meetings at work, and even like the owner of the company is talking about it. So I'm like, I gotta watch this now.
Yeah,
But I really liked the first 2 seasons.
yeah.
This third season, I'm only like 3 or 4 episodes in, and I'm not really liking it as much as the first 2 seasons.
I would have to take this time, Keith, to totally agree with you.
Yeah,
I was less into season 3. I really liked season 2. Season 1 I
yeah,
thought was good, but season 2 for me took a step forward, and I really liked
yeah,
season 2. I
yeah.
do think that the show, and I know a death is part of every season, but I feel like the show took a weird leap with the stuff that happens at the end of season 2, where now
Yeah.
it's like it's almost a different type of show, and that stuff
Uh-huh.
bleeds into the season 3 storyline stuff. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad choice, but it was this show that kind of mostly was making fun of rich people. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was like my initial impressions of what the show was, and then all of a sudden there's like way more people involved in underworld and
Yeah,
crime,
it's
and
turning
you're
into
like,
kind of like more of like a thriller show, kind of.
they keep the at its core what it is. They maintain that, but it starts being like it's messing with your expectations now. Like,
Hmm.
what do you think it's going to escalate to? Because there's actually murders happening at the end of season
Yeah.
2.
Well, like the very beginning of the show, I think it is of season 3. It starts off with like gunshots and
Yeah,
and like some sort of gunfight happening, and yeah, I have no idea where it's gonna go. You're kind of following that massage lady's son in the beginning. You remember, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
he's like on the phone with her or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to stuff like that. I like thriller stuff like that, but it
Sure.
doesn't feel like the first 2 seasons for sure. Like I was so engaged in the Aubrey Plaza like love quadrangle thing.
Same,
Like
same.
that was like so stressful to me. Like
I like
I don't know
that.
why.
I like Michael Imperioli's family, like the
Uh
three
huh.
generations, the dad, the
Yeah,
son, and the
Christopher.
grandson. Like, yeah, I like that storyline. I was in for all of that
Yeah.
Italy one. That
Yeah,
season really.
those prostitutes were like so fun to watch their stories play out. Yeah.
So, just real quick on Sharp Objects, though, that's probably one of my favorite things, all media wise, over the
Hmm.
last decade or so. And I just felt like going back to rewatch it. I can never know if it's Gillian Flynn or Gillian Flynn. I mean, I don't know why a name has to be spelled like that. Can have two pronunciations. Can't we all just decide like it's all Gillians or it's all Jillians and then be
Uh-huh.
done with it?
Uh-huh.
But I really, really enjoy that series or that mini series or whatever, and I think it's one of the best things that's been on TV. Even though I am not really qualified to say that because I watch almost no shows. So, but it was really good, and even revisiting, I'm like, yes, I remember why I like this. The editing is cool. Unfortunately, the director passed away. The guy that directed Dallas Buyers Club, he passed
Oh.
away a couple years ago. But it's like edited really cool. There's really cool music, and it's creepy. It's interesting. It's riveting, and I just think that, and it has like a crazy ending. So it's really the complete package, and would recommend to anyone who's never watched Sharp Objects that you should just go back and do it. And there's a few things that now that the world has become a little bit more blended between TV and movies, and there's all these like kind of one-off miniseries that are like way more cinematic. Like I kind of consider this in that territory that's like almost like a movie, you know,
Mhm.
even though it's a show, it kind of feels more like a long movie. Uh, and I feel like
Yeah.
there's more and more content that's kind of like that.
Yeah, a lot of HBO stuff, it definitely feels more cinematic and definitely has a higher prestige quality to it than most stuff. Netflix, I feel like, comes out with stuff every now and then.
Yeah.
Amazon, not so much.
But you know
Nothing
what?
I can really
You know
think
what I'll
of,
give Amazon credit for? They're kind of like Kino, where their UI is not necessarily great. I feel like their interface is just not the
yeah.
greatest thing, and it's kind of
Uh-huh.
arduous to scroll through and find stuff. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you this, Amazon has some treasures. Like I find all sorts of weird niche stuff from, my era, the 70s,
As far
on
as shows
Amazon.
or movies you're
No,
talking about?
movies,
Yeah,
movies.
I think their movie catalog for sure is better. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
One
you're
thing
right
that
on the
annoys me about them, it's similar to what you said, but how do you subscribe to Shudder? Because I subscribe through Amazon and
same.
it's terrible, and I need to just cancel it and start it new and download the app because it's
Why do you say
awful.
that? I believe you. Just the experience of scrolling through the stuff, or
Yeah, because like some stuff you have to search for.
yeah,
Like you can't just look like A to Z, or like the categories are terrible. Like,
I
and
do
some of
agree
the
with
stuff
that.
just won't even show up.
Yeah,
Like, and I was looking online. I was like trying to find tips for like how to find stuff that you want to watch, and and a lot of people on like Reddit and stuff are just like, yeah, unsubscribe through Amazon and just re-download the app separately.
well, here's the thing. I'm locked in now though, because the reason I have Shutter again, normally I don't have it this time of year. Normally I just get it in the fall.
Uh-huh.
But because I got AMC Plus to rewatch Mad Men for the millionth time, it's like part of Shutter's like part of the AMC Plus package. You get like
Um,
IFC, AMC, Shutter, maybe something else.
yeah.
And so I'm back in. I have the whole shebang, and I don't see myself canceling
Yeah,
that
that's a
until
tough one.
I'm gonna have to unwind myself from AMC Plus, and then I'll get Shutter again in the fall.
Yeah.
So it's a journey.
Well, anyways, I feel like we went off on quite a tangent there. A couple
Yeah, for
tangents.
sure. Yeah, I think.
Um,
I guess before we get into the regular episode, I did come prepared with a Coors Banquet,
nice.
and I don't know if
Uh,
you can tell, but I'm actually wearing the Coors Banquet corduroy baseball cap too.
Hell yeah. I got my Herman Bloom.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Well, with all the cough
complete
medicine you must be taking, I'm sure you're in just like a hypnotic trance. Oh yes,
complete
and
with zero sugar. W.
future sponsor of the show, Zero Sugar and
I have
W.
to. We have to, yeah, say that. Not sponsored, but want to be sponsored by.
All right, should we get into it?
All right, let's get into it. Okay, it's that time again, Matt. Let's talk about what we had either, blind bought or still in the shrink wrap. What did you pick for this episode of the show?
Well, I did call an audible again because I had something in my mind that I was gonna do, and I need you to help me with the name of the label again. The Vinegar Syndrome one, that cinematograph, is that what you call it?
Cinematograph, I believe is how you pronounce it.
There's a Western movie that Jack Nicholson directed, and I have that. It's in shrink wrap. I plan to do that. It's like a Western comedy. It's got like all his friends in it. I think Danny DeVito, maybe Christopher Lloyd. A lot of the actors that he was friends with are in it. Mary Steenburgen is in it, and it's been on my list to watch. But I decided to just switch. I don't know why. I randomly so I went with the Kino Lorber, the oft discussed Kino Lorber. It's a film, The Last Tycoon, which is it's based off F. Scott Fitzgerald's last novel.
Okay.
And it's directed by Elia Kazan, and it's actually Elia Kazan's last movie that he directed. I
Okay.
don't know the full story. It's 1976. He didn't die until like 30 years later, so I'm sure there's a story there. I don't know if it's a blacklist thing or what, but he stopped directing movies after this. He's a director. He's on the list of people that I need to get more into his work. He did a
I was
couple
gonna
of the
say I don't even
Brando.
recognize his name, so
He was an earlier famous director. Like he was tied to Marlon Brando early on. He did A Streetcar Named Desire, which was a Tennessee Williams
okay.
play. And actually, that was the other thing Lindsay and I did historically when we were in Key West, because we went to Hemingway's house. But then there's also a little Tennessee Williams also lived in Key West. So there's a little Tennessee Williams museum, which is like, I don't know, a house on a side street, just one dude working there, and it's just pictures. Like we paid whatever to do the tour. We were the only people in there. The guy who was like working there, it seemed like he didn't even want to be bothered by us. He's like, "Oh no, you're ruining my work day by coming in."
You guys are
That was
probably his only guests for the whole day.
yeah. But Ilya Kazan also directed On the Waterfront, and then there was a movie that I got really into a couple years ago that I saw on the Criterion Channel. It's probably only a few years before this. It's called The Arrangement. It had Kirk Douglas and Faye Dunaway in it, and I need to get a copy of The Arrangement. I really liked it. It's got a little bit similar feel to The Last Tycoon. Both Kirk Douglas and then Robert De Niro in The Last Tycoon are like these successful guys who are kind of like have this beaten down characteristic to them. It almost seems like characters out of Wes Anderson movies, to be honest. And The Arrangement, there's a part where Kirk Douglas tries to, I think, crash his car to kill himself, and then his head is all done up in a similar way that Owen Wilson's is in the
Oh,
Darjeeling Limited. So I was like
interesting.
trying to figure out if there was a little influence there. But anyway, that's The Arrangement, which I need to get and own. I don't know that there's a good Blu-ray of it or not, but that was a find on the Criterion Channel years ago that I really liked.
The other one you mentioned, A Streetcar Called Desire, that's on Criterion, I think, isn't it? I think they put a
No,
Blu-ray out of
I don't
that.
think so. On the Waterfront is.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
A
actually have
Streetcar.
that on the waterfront. On the waterfront, but I haven't watched. I watched that movie in a film history class in
Yeah.
college, but I haven't watched it since. I bought the Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it since.
Yeah, well, it's certainly something I need to revisit. A Streetcar Named Desire, Lindsay and I rewatched not that long ago. She's a big Brando fan. She
Okay.
loves Marlon Brando. She's read multiple Marlon Brando books. I
Oh,
don't
cool.
know how excited she is about Last Tango in Paris showing up, but I will say we do have the score to Last Tango in Paris on vinyl, and I think she was the one that pointed it out at the record store and was like, "We should get this." But that being said, it's kind of hard for me to explain The Last Tycoon. Robert De Niro plays like this producer or a guy who's running a movie studio. It's like in the 30s, of course, because it's out of the F. Scott Fitzgerald era. And I think F. Scott Fitzgerald spent some time in Hollywood. There's a Ben Gibbard song where he's like, it's like singing it um, from the perspective of F. Scott Fitzgerald, and one of the lines is like, "I'm in California doing the work of lesser men," which I think is like looking down on writing in the movie system as opposed to like writing novels. So I think that there's a little darkness, there's a little dark cloud over what the movie industry is, and actually it has a little tie-in with Body Double in the sense that Body Double also very much taking place in Hollywood some 70 years later or whatever. But it's got kind of a wild cast. Tony Curtis is in it, Angelica Houston, Jack Nicholson, so you have the two of them in it. Robert Mitchum, Donald Pleasance is in it.
Oh,
Teresa
wow.
Russell, who plays Robert Mitchum's daughter, which is wild. I mean,
It's
I
a
didn't
pretty
even,
stacked cast.
yeah, it's cool. I'd love to tell you all about it, but it's basically he falls in love with this woman who is spoken for, and he never like emotes that much. He's kind of Robert De Niro, I'm talking about. He's kind of like this stoic character, and he's super skinny. I think he lost like 50 pounds or something to play the role. Which, this was of the era where people were already skinny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have been around. It was around when he played Vito Corleone in Godfather 2. There's just a lot of darkness. It feels like haunted characters in Hollywood, and there's the big thing is over screenwriters going on strike, and the climactic moments of the movie are Robert De Niro and Jack Nicholson, and Jack Nicholson's character is sort of the guy who's heading the whole strike of the writers or representing them, and they basically are just hanging out at a nice Hollywood home, and Jack Nicholson is just like casually alpha mailing him. I don't know how to describe it. It's really bizarre. I mean,
You
I'd
might
love
have already said this, but like, what era does it take place in? I know it was filmed in like the 70s, you said, right? But
yeah, but
is
it takes place in
supposed to
like
be
the
like
30s.
modern times for 70s, or is it
No,
like
no, it takes place in like the 30s.
okay? If you already said that, I apologize.
I did, but that's okay. I'm saying a lot of shit, so it's hard to follow it all.
Okay.
I can't really tell you much more about it, other than I gave it a 3.5, but I feel like I'm trending towards a 4.
Okay. Well,
It
you know how I
wasn't.
feel about movies that either take place in a movie theater or kind of just surrounding
I
the
know.
movie making business in general. I'm always somewhat, at least a little bit interested, so it sounds cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's this very cynical feel, but still slice of life. The characters seem very believable. In a similar way, like I was talking about how the arrangement is, and I mean, I guess I'm recommending it as a companion piece to the arrangement because I don't really know how else to explain this vibe. It is very much that 70s kind of not hangout, but the pace is very slow, but not in a boring way. It just
Yeah.
feels casual. And it
Yeah.
feels like life to me.
From a
Like,
time when people's attention spans were much longer, people didn't have cell phones, and
right.
I feel like all that kind of stuff, social media, all that stuff has definitely had an effect on our attention span
Oh
and
yeah.
our ability to watch movies like that. Because yeah, if you talk to, I mean, even me at a younger age, I would have been a lot of older movies like that. I would have watched and been like, oh, this is boring, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I've come to appreciate stuff like that a little more now,
Well, now
obviously.
I find myself wanting to live in that space all the time. When I
Yeah,
watch
for
these
sure.
movies that it's like they're not worried about attention span.
Hmm.
Now, look, I still just like anybody else get caught like, okay, I'm going to look at my phone and check out like, what's going on in sports or whatever. But
Hmm.
I'm actually making more of an effort not to do that.
Yeah.
I will
I
say
do
that.
too. Sometimes I'll plug my phone in, like when I was watching the movie that you assigned me to watch this week. I
Yeah.
was like, when I first started it, I was kind of looking at my phone a little bit, and I was like, this is an older black and white movie. I'm gonna have to go, and I plugged my phone in, and like 10 minutes later, I completely forgot I didn't even have my phone next to me. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you also have that nice setup where you've got the big projector screen, right?
yeah, yeah, that's where I watched it too.
So
So
to me, that makes it a little bit easier to just unplug and focus on that big
yeah,
screen,
for
because
sure. Yeah.
you can make yourself quite a cinematic experience. Now, I mean, I have a pretty good size, flat screen TV in the living room,
Hmm.
but there's something where you're like, you got that full blown projector screen, which
Yeah.
Brittany did get me one for Christmas. And I plan on like assimilating that into my setup at some point, but my house is kind of small. I don't have like a
Yeah.
lot of great areas to put it up. Let's just say that every wall is kind of spoken for.
Yeah. Dude, you could use it for like movie nights out in your backyard or
Oh,
something.
for sure, for sure. But I
Yeah.
just mean like long term. I want to do something like what you have.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that's
You
gonna
could
be like my
probably find a wall in the basement, couldn't you?
dude. Our basement is for like hobbits. I mean, I'm short, but it's like it's just not a comfortable place to
Yeah.
hang. Um, I mean, do you remember when you guys were there, like before my wedding, and
Yeah.
that dude Andrew was there, and he like couldn't even
Oh,
stand
that's
like
true.
with a
Yeah. But if you're watching movies, you'll have like a couch or some chairs or something, so that won't
yeah.
be
I just my basement's not built for
Yeah.
prime time when it comes to
Yeah.
hangs.
Yeah. True,
Um,
true.
but yeah, just one last point on what you're talking about with the attention span. Yeah, it's so welcoming, but also one of the reasons why this show will never succeed now.
Yeah.
Why your content, your little like pithy content will get like 100 million views, but this
Did
show will
you
never
say pithy?
yeah, pithy, short and to the point. Because that's what people need, right? They just want quick content. They just want to be in and out so they can move on to the
Yeah.
next thing and just scroll through it. Like this long form of conversational entertainment, I mean, people will not be listening to this.
Well, we do this show for us, Matt, okay?
Yeah, for sure. You don't have to convince me. I'm just
F
saying.
everybody else. F our 35 viewers.
Yeah, well, listen, we can't stand to lose those 35. So
Yeah.
I just want to say we're very grateful for you.
Yeah. Very grateful for the few people that listen.
If you want to
We love
write
this.
letters to A&W and that sugar-free root beer and tell them that there's a show that could really use their sponsorship, we
Also, we do
encourage
still
that.
have stickers. We have plenty of stickers still.
Not a lot of interest in the stickers, but
Mm.
I have a whole pile of them now too. I'm gonna go on a marketing campaign.
I
Truth be told, though, go ahead.
I mailed out a handful.
Good.
My dude GC, Face the Movies, he sent me a picture the other day. Shout out to GC.
All
Love that
right.
dude.
Yeah,
He used two stickers. He put one on his record player and one on his VHS rewinder.
I love it. You know what? Maybe I'm all turned around on this. The show does have a ton of listeners,
Yes.
and there is still a place for the long form
Hangout.
conversational hangout entertainment. Okay, so
we are the slackers of podcasting.
you've talked me off the ledge, Keith. Thank you, as
Not
you always
slackers,
do.
slackers. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, let's do your topic.
All right, so sticking with Brian DePalma, or we haven't gotten to him yet, but I picked another Brian DePalma movie because we're gonna do Body Double later, but I picked Carlito's Way because I bought the Arrow chunky box a few months ago and I just hadn't opened it yet.
That cover looks.
This.
I feel like that cover looks like way sharper than the movie does.
Yeah. Very cool box.
I'm here for it.
I actually like this movie a lot more this time than I think previously, though. I think the reason I bought it was just because I wanted to eventually get around to rewatching a lot of DePalma movies. And I remember
he's an interesting dude because in one sense he's got a lot of range, but in another sense all his movies are the same movie.
True, yeah. I feel like when I was a kid, I always just thought that this was like, or not when I was a kid, but when I was in high school, which actually I brought another piece of physical media.
Please.
I think I bought this DVD on one of our $5 Walmart trips.
Oh, yeah. So I think I know where you're going with this because, I used to always see that there too. And it looks like a Scarface knockoff.
Very similar. I think the boxes even look the same. I was trying to find my old Scarface DVD, and I think it's one of the ones that I just like left at home.
Well, it is the same director, and I'm sure they were trying to capitalize off of the. I mean, I think Scarface was like a box office disaster, right? It was like a bomb, but obviously goes on to be this whole thing with a second life that people love. So I'm thinking they were trying to capitalize off of that, being the same director, but it seems weird. It is a weird move because it's not really anything like Scarface.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crime movie.
It feels like he's trying to like return to form or something, kind of, because this is 10 years after. This comes out in what, 93, I think. I'm looking at the IMDb just to double check. I think it's 93. Please. But yeah, and Scarface came out in 83. So yeah, it's basically 10 years after.
Thank you for validating that, Keith, because Lord knows we don't want to be inaccurate on this show.
Yeah, we don't want any more corrections from Brittany. But yeah, it did kind of just feel like a more dumbed down version, or maybe less exciting, less sexy version of Scarface to me when I was younger.
But you were being tricked by the marketing scheme.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I'm sure. How many people do you think probably bought that DVD thinking they were buying Scarface?
Yeah, I'm sure. Always fun to trick people into buying your thing.
Yeah.
But the thing that always jumped out to me about this movie is not the Al Pacino character, the Sean Penn character.
Yeah, he is widely respected for his performance in this. From the minor amount of research I did, I don't know if he won any awards specifically, but I know he has high praise for his performance in this, and he plays a really awesome character.
Awesome, in interesting ways. He's maybe like a world-class sleazeball.
Yeah, for sure. The cool thing about his character too is you can't really get a read on him until some really bad shit starts happening. Like, you kind of think he's like an okay dude. Like, I guess we should kind of explain the movie real quick, just like give a quick summary in case anybody hasn't seen this movie. Basically, it's Al Pacino is like this ex-drug dealer, gangster type character, and he gets out at the very beginning of the movie. He gets out of jail after only being in there for like 4 or 5 years, and he's supposed to be doing like a 30-year stint or something. And Sean Penn plays his lawyer who gets him out of jail or prison. So his character kind of feels this like debt to him, which is one of the most interesting things about the movie, I think, is his relationship with Sean Penn's character. And basically the whole movie, Carlito, played by Al Pacino, he's trying to go straight. He's trying to not get back into the old world that he used to be in, this criminal underworld. Takes place in New York City. But right off the bat, he kind of gets pulled back in a little bit. Like he's working, or he buys into part of this club or whatever, I guess you'd say. It's like a dance club.
Sure.
And at one point his cousin takes him to this drug deal, and he's like I said, he's trying to stay out of trouble, but this
Immediately
drug
back in
deal,
it.
yeah. So this drug deal he goes to goes awry. He ends up killing some people, but that's what gets him the money to kind of buy into this club. And anyways, basically the rest of the movie, he's trying to stay out of trouble, and he keeps getting pulled back in. And the major thing that happens is his lawyer, Sean Penn, kind of pulls him into this plot to break this. He's like a mob boss out of prison.
Yeah.
So
it does get wild when they're all of a sudden like taking a boat out to a buoy.
There's a lot of plot. But the cool thing about it is it's kind of like a unique take on a gangster movie.
I think so. Yeah.
Normally in gangster movies, you're kind of following dudes being bad and not caring, you know. But in this one, Carlito is trying to be good, and he just keeps getting sucked back in to doing these bad things. He just kind of wants to make his money and escape with his girlfriend, who he's kind of started to win back. But yeah, I mean, I really like this movie though. What do you think about it, Matt?
No, I agree. It is cool. I really just watched it a few years ago and haven't really revisited it since, but it was definitely different than what I was expecting, right? And it always will stand out to me, the Sean Penn performance, because he's just this kind of slimy but kind of nerdy lawyer that like he's in over his head too, but he's like trying to be an alpha male, but he's so clearly incapable of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he gets himself into some stuff that Al Pacino's character kind of has to help him out with, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it all culminates in that scene, where he tries to bust out the mob boss who he has fucked over previously. And yeah, he's coked out the whole time. One of my favorite scenes is he has a party at his, I don't know if it's like a lake house or what it is, but or a house on the river or something, and everybody's just coked out, and he thinks he's an alpha dude, but he's not really. I don't know if did you ever play I think it was the newest GTA 5. I think there's a character in the game that's basically like his character.
I'm sure. Well, I never really played like any of them, but I do know that they base a lot of the storylines and characters off things from crime movies, so I'm sure it is.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I guess if you haven't seen this movie, I think it's one of his like maybe lesser appreciated movies.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You mean DePalma specifically? One
of DePalma's lesser appreciated movies. I feel like I said, like when I was a kid, I always thought that this was like the lesser Scarface. But I think it's definitely worth watching.
But that was you and me going to Walmart. We weren't falling for it. Like we weren't falling for that marketing. We're like, we're not picking up this shit. Although you have it, so you must have.
Like I said, yeah, I think I bought that on one of our late night Walmart trips, $5 bin rate or something. I don't remember if we actually watched it together or not.
No,
but
I would remember that. Well, you may have put it on and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
It wasn't like The Warriors that you watched 3 times in one night.
Well, it is, though. I guess one negative too is it's a pretty long movie. So
yeah,
like you said, you have to have a long attention span to get through it, I think. But there's a pretty good cast and everything. Yeah, like you said, Sean Penn, Al Pacino. Who is it that plays Benny Blanco?
I don't.
John Leguizamo.
Oh yeah.
Viggo Mortensen has like a small role.
That's right. Yeah,
pretty cool.
I do agree with you though that I do think it's one of De Palma's lesser appreciated movies. That's like pretty cool and really. I don't know where I have it on my overall ranking of his movies, but it would be more towards the top than the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of his movies that I still haven't seen yet, but
he has an insane filmography.
Yeah, I would say it's in my upper end of his movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like stuff that he does that's like recurring, I guess, which maybe be why some people kind of knock this movie a little bit, because I don't know, there's just like a lot of stuff that he kind of regurgitates, same themes and stuff. I would say a lot of people, we'll probably talk about this later.
Yeah.
Body Double, but this one feels like one of his least Hitchcockian films to me.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that.
Yeah, there's a cool like 70s New York City vibe to it too, though. Even
Yeah.
though it was made in the 90s, it takes
It
place
does
in the
feel
70s.
older. It feels older than that.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels more 80s to me. Maybe because the cocaine is so in it. It's
Yeah,
such a
I
big
think
part
it's
of it.
supposed to take place in the 70s. It
Could
might be
be.
the 80s.
I mean, it could be. Obviously, cocaine has been around in New York City for many
Yeah.
eras, but just seemed to reach its peak during the 80s.
But yeah, we'll talk about this again later with Body Double too. But I feel like this is one of his least sexy movies too.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's fair.
Not a lot of nudity, not a lot of not a lot of stuff like that going on with this one. But I still really like this movie. So
Absolutely. I'm here for it. Well, is that good for Blind Buy Still and Shrink Wrap?
yeah, I think that's good. This movie has a lot of plot and stuff too, so it could end up being like, I don't know if we'll do it on the show again, but there's tons of stuff that we didn't touch on with it. So I think if you haven't seen it, it's worth watching if you're into the DePalma stuff, or like I would even say if you're like a fan of, I don't know, Martin Scorsese like gangster movies
Yeah,
too, or like The Godfather or something like that. I think this is kind of similar to those movies. So
totally agree.
okay, it's time to talk about today's spotlight. So, Matt, why don't you introduce people to Body Double?
There are certain films that encapsulate a specific era of my life. I'm in my early teens. It's summer. I haven't really started going out yet. I haven't started drinking yet. Certainly didn't work, and there's not much to do but stay up super late every night. What a treasure it was to have movie channels at this point in my life. Within that specific bubble, I started to discover films with a little bit more of a B element. I've come to think of these as midnight movies. Now, what's a midnight movie, Keith? A midnight movie is something you'd watch alone, late at night, while everyone else in your house was asleep. They are at their best when pairing sex and violence with some sort of cheesy score. Now, off the top of my head, I can't specifically tell you which movies I found this way, but I do know what they feel like. One example that comes to mind is 1985's Fright Night. I feel like that captures the vibe that I'm talking about. This wasn't one that I saw during that era, but it's one that I can put on now and be like, yes, that is what it feels like. But another one that I always think of came a year earlier in 84. Brian De Palma's mystery thriller, Body Double. It's a dark and sweaty murder tale with a score that swings between synthesizers, sweeping orchestral numbers, and a melodramatic piano theme that seems straight out of daytime television. The first thing that any film buff thinks of when discussing De Palma is the work of Alfred Hitchcock, as almost his entire filmography feels like some never-ending homage to the late great director. Body Double in specific has clear-cut references to Rear Window with the voyeurism, and Vertigo with the hero here suffering from claustrophobia, a play on Jimmy Stewart's fear of heights. We even see lead actor Craig Wasson make similar facial expressions to Stewart when being crippled by his phobia. Like most of De Palma's work, one could go on to the Hitchcock influence and nods. I would point to Blowout and Dress to Kill as maybe De Palma's best executed efforts on that front, but there's another element with Body Double that sets it apart for me and my enjoyment of the film. We've seen many acclaimed directors make their Los Angeles / movie industry focused movies. Quentin Tarantino, of course, gave us the acclaimed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. David Lynch had Mulholland Drive, and Damien Chazelle seemingly split this into two movies with La La Land and Babylon, giving us the two sides of the coin in different stories. A phrase that started to be completely overused was this idea of the love letter to Hollywood. Well, whatever it is, I think Body Double is Brian De Palma's version. We get everything we've come to love about LA from afar. Movie sets, darkly lit bars while the sun shines, and beautiful beachfront property. De Palma also features a B-horror movie actor as the hero of the story. Through him, we get to see life in LA, from tacky actors' workshops and crappy apartment buildings to lavish hillside homes and upscale shopping centers. In a very meta moment, the film also featured Barbara Crampton in her debut role, a future staple of the horror film industry. Overall, Body Double is a De Palma swirl of Hitchcockian techniques that sets a murder mystery in the underbelly of the Los Angeles art scene, where B-horror pictures brush up against the world of pornography, making it, for me, Keith, a perfect midnight movie. So before we get into this, Keith, actually, you did some research on this and had some interesting should we say, tidbits or rumors surrounding
Yes, I
the
got
lore of this movie?
yes, I got a couple rumors, but I do have to say I did not know that this was Barbara Crampton's first role.
Yeah,
That's
a brief
interesting.
but memorable appearance.
Yeah, no lines, also
Yeah,
no top.
that is true. Yes,
Uh, I
but
was excited to watch this movie again, though. It had been a while since I'd seen it, and I don't know if I recognized her the first time that I saw it, but now having gone back and watched a lot of B movies, obviously recognize her from Reanimator and a whole bunch of other cool stuff.
before you get too far down the line, do you kind of get what I'm saying about this idea of the like the late night movies that you'd watch by yourself that would just come on some movie channel that you've never seen before? I
Uh,
I had
I
a
mean, I
bunch
don't
of
know if
movies
I
like
had this experience myself because growing up, I kind of always like shared a bedroom with my brother, so
okay.
I never really had this experience. But I I know there's lots of memes of like kids watching these kinds of movies and having like their finger on the last button on the remote. So if their parents walked in, they're like, "Oh, I'm not actually watching something I shouldn't be watching," you know?
Well, and Body Double wasn't one of those movies for me. It just feels like it would be.
Yeah, yeah. If you're like, 8 or 9 years old, it's definitely a movie that you're like, oh, my parents wouldn't want me to watch this. There's boobies in it,
Yeah. Like that's my genre. The midnight movie genre is not movies that I actually experienced during that time. It's just movies
Yeah,
that make me feel like that time.
yeah.
So,
No, yeah.
Body Double makes me feel like that time.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely fits that bill for sure.
All right, go ahead, get into it.
So the couple rumors are just, kind of fun little things that I found out about this movie. So this one definitely was a rumor that DePalma kind of, or at least in one interview that I found online with Bobby Wygat, he kind of refuted this. But originally, I think a lot of people thought that he had planned on making this an X-rated movie and
Ooh.
wanted there to be actual sex in the movie, like not even
Yeah.
simulated. Um,
Well, there once it gets to that point of the movie, there is like some porn in it. Now it's pretty much like it's basically like the porn that they're watching in Big Lebowski, where it's like the story's
yeah.
ludicrous or whatever. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. But it's not
um,
like actual like the rumor is that he wanted to have actual
right.
penetration and basically wanted it to have he wanted to make the best porn movie, kind of like the filmmaker in the movie X. You know how
Yeah,
he
yeah,
talks about that, how he wants to make like an actual artistic
yeah.
porno.
Well, it's like
Um,
Boogie Nights too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was just a cool rumor that I didn't know about, but thought it
Well, and
was
I think that makes sense
interesting.
because I do think the little versions of porn that they put in the movie, I do think that De Palma also directed those.
Yeah. Well, even if you go back now and watch reviews, like even as far back as just like a year or two ago, I watched a couple reviews on this and people still believed this rumor, but then I came across this interview on, I don't know, Bobby Wygat or something, and De Palma himself refuted these claims. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Maybe
Well,
it's
there you
true,
go.
maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah,
But from his mouth, he says that that's not true.
that was never the
Um,
plan.
Another interesting rumor, though, is people thought that he was having the women that were auditioning to play Melanie Griffith's part
Yeah.
actually perform sex acts during the auditions.
These
Uh,
things seem to come up a lot, like in movie lore, where it's like stories of people, like this is different, but people that actually had sex for real during
uh-huh.
a sex scene.
Like you mentioned, did you mention Don't Look Now earlier, or
I,
am
I
I
did
making
not
that up?
mention Don't Look Now, but that is,
That's
you
one of
know,
those things, though, right? Yeah.
it is. Yeah, Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie, that was a very intense sex scene, and that was always kind of the legend that they
Uh-huh.
really uh, completed the act. But I don't think that that's true. I don't think that these things are usually true. Although I guess if it's a casting thing, I mean, we do know that there's been a lot of darkness in Hollywood that's come to light over the
Yeah.
years. So anything is possible on that front.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's happened in the past for other movies for sure, but Melanie Griffith herself kind of refuted these claims at one point, so that's supposedly a debunked rumor as well.
Okay.
Um, and then one other thing that I found interesting, but this is not a rumor, this is a fact, I guess.
Okay.
So in the book American Psycho, Patrick Bateman's favorite movie is Body Double.
Okay, that tracks.
I never read the book. I guess they left that part out of the movie, but apparently in the book he it's like a part of his character. He loves the movie Body Double, and he's watched it like hundreds of times or something.
So, a few things for me that really stand out about this movie. Number one, Craig Wasson is our lead role. Like, who is this guy? He just
Yes.
seems like, a loser. And I guess that's part of the role. Part of the role is he's an actor that hasn't made it. Although, doesn't it seem like him and I'm just going to refer to her as Barbara Crampton? Doesn't it seem like him and Barbara Crampton have like a pretty nice house?
Yeah, well, I think he mentions at one point that it's her place
Okay.
when
Yeah.
he's talking to the bartender.
Yeah.
I think he says it's her place, or maybe it's when he's talking to the other guy the guy who actually, kind of sets him up on Greg Henry's character, who
Yeah.
sets him on this path or whatever.
Is Greg Henry the villain?
If we're spoiling the movie, we're spoiling the movie,
Yeah,
right?
well, we're gonna
Yeah.
get there one way or another, but
Yeah.
he's the
So
villain whichever way you look at it.
he's
Yeah.
the one who eventually ends up. He's the one who sets him up in the house
Mhm.
and puts all this into play, and then you find
Yeah.
out at the end of the movie that he's actually the villain. Yeah.
So that guy's very recognizable to me too, but not as like a big star. And the cast is not filled with big stars. I would say Melanie Griffith is the biggest star in the movie, wouldn't you say?
I would say, and I don't even really know her from that much stuff, to be honest.
She's in a lot of movies, though. I mean, she's in a lot of movies, and Dennis Franz is in it, of course, who from NYPD Blue fame, but he's in like several DePalma movies. He's definitely in Dressed to Kill. He might be in Blowout too. He's in a bunch of DePalma movies, and then the woman that plays Gloria Revelle, her name is Deborah Shelton. She was like a former beauty pageant winner or something. Like, I don't think she had a huge acting career.
Yeah, I don't really recognize her from much either.
So
it
it
is
is interesting.
Yeah, her top 4 like most notable movies on IMDb are Body Double, Sins of the Night, Silk Degrees, and Nemesis, and I haven't heard of any of those except Body Double. So.
Sounds like mostly trashy movies, which I say with love because Body Double is definitely a trashy movie.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that it's not a big star-studded cast because we have seen DePalma land big actors. You were just talking about Pacino earlier. He worked with De Niro a ton, who I talked about earlier in the episode. I think he may have even introduced all these guys to De Niro originally because he made like a student film with De Niro or something in college, and
Blowout with Travolta. Like how well known was he at that point? I don't know.
Well, he certainly had been around, but I don't know how famous he was in that moment because he seemingly has had stretches of being a star to being less of a star to being a star again. So I'm not sure exactly where that one fell, but De Niro I know. So DePalma is part of that crew, that with Spielberg and Scorsese, for like the whole crew that came out of the USC film world. He was associated with those guys, and I feel like he was the one that got De Niro in the mix because he worked with De Niro very early on. So it is interesting that there's just not a lot of stars here. I don't know if people didn't want to I didn't research this. I don't know if people didn't want to take roles because of the content and its association with like the porn world, even though, I mean, wouldn't you say overall that is like a pretty small part of the movie?
Yeah, I would say so. I also think it might have been somewhat intentional to have like a not known actor play the main character because I think he probably wanted him to be believable as this guy who gets cucked by Barbara Crampton. And then he's definitely not like an alpha male, like when he walks in on her, it's a pretty funny scene. He doesn't even say anything. Most dudes, even myself, not being an alpha male, I think I would probably, I don't know, do something. Say something.
I think I would do the same thing that he does, which is go straight to the bar.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't even like slam the door shut though. Like, I feel like that's the least you could do to be like, I'm pissed.
I think I would just be like, okay, and then turn around and walk away. And be like, well, I guess I'm starting a new life now. So I mentioned it in the intro, but I also love the score in this movie, and it's not like in a way that I'm saying, oh, the score is amazing. I just think the score is perfect for this movie. And
Yeah.
I mentioned it, but it's like it switches to like this weird 80s synthesizer style score, which is almost like it almost feels very bright when it's in this.
Every time he's looking through the telescope and he
Yeah.
sees or who he thinks is Gloria dancing, and it goes in. I don't know the name of the song, but it's like
Yeah.
yeah. I love
Yeah.
that little bit too.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with that. And then whenever they're doing like the more classic Hitchcock sweeping shots that take a while, that's more of the symphony orchestra style score. And then also there's random parts, and one of them is like after he leaves the set and he's going to the house to where he will eventually see his wife, his beautiful wife Barbara Crampton, cheating on him. It plays like this crappy piano music, and I said it reminded me of daytime television or like Are You Afraid of the Dark or something, just like crappy TV piano music. And I'm like, yes, this is perfect. I love it. I think it's so great. And I just enjoy those early establishing shots as he's like making his way through LA. He's going to his house. He's going to an eatery. He goes to a grocery store. After the shit happens with his wife, he ends up going to a local bar. And in these LA movies, of course, it's always like some darkly lit, grungy looking place, and you're like, yes, this looks like my type of joint. They're always walking in while the sun is like shining outside.
Yeah.
He's of course down on his luck at this point because not only did he walk in on his wife getting down with another guy, he had a bad day on the set, and I don't know if he knows at the bar yet that he's been fired.
I don't think he doesn't realize it until later on in the movie.
Yeah, it's not that much later though.
Yeah.
But he had a bad day on set, and should be pointed out, a key character trait is his claustrophobia, which we see. He's not able to perform his duties as a vampire because he's struggling to be in the casket.
Yeah. I love those scenes too where whenever he has one of these little bits of claustrophobia, they're just shot really well. That's something that people often talk about with DePalma is he does a lot of really cool stuff with the camera, and those specifically stood out to me on this viewing for sure.
Absolutely. The camera work in this movie, I think, is like off the charts. Now, you would say, look, Dressed to Kill, that museum sequence where they're doing the camera and it's like swerving in and out of those rooms, and it's all this big build and the thing with the glove, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But this movie, there's so many of those set pieces. You have the one where they're at the shopping center, which we'll talk about. The one where they're at the beach that leads up to the tunnel. The kill scenes, the voyeurism scenes, like all of them have these kind of long, tense, sweeping shots where the perspective is moving all over the place. You see one thing in a frame, you move to another frame, and then you go back to the frame, and it's no longer there. I mean, I just think it's so like carefully crafted and such a joy to watch. So
yeah, I didn't look into who his cinematographer was, but it's definitely a staple of his movies. I didn't mention it when we talked about Carlito's Way, but there's definitely a lot of cool stuff like that. And one of the things, the reoccurring things, one of my favorite things he does is like, I think he might have first done it in Blowout, but that's the earliest one that I've seen where he'll have a camera set up like on a track and it'll be circling around a character. And that's like a big moment in this movie when he first when Jake first makes out with Gloria.
Yeah.
The camera's spinning around them, like they're in the center and the camera's spinning around them.
Yeah,
that's like a big thing in Blowout too, when
for sure
Travolta's in that room when he finds out it's been ravaged, and I think you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Should be pointed out, by the way, I blew right past this, that our lead role, played by Craig Wasson, the character's name is Jake Scully.
Jake Scully, yes.
And in the early days of him hanging out post-cucking, post-cuck situation, he's making his way to his normal acting class. So we talk about him being a loser. He has had some success as an actor. He's been in movies. They sound like the worst movies you've ever heard of, but he has been in a couple movies. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's now going to his acting class. He's trying to carry on with life, but he ultimately needs a place to stay because the place that he first stayed is with, his friend, the bartender. Sound familiar, Keith?
I don't know. I've never stayed with a bartender.
Me neither, but it does seem like at one point in my life that was very much on the table.
That seems like something that, you might have done with one of the Ruggers bartenders or something.
Even like it certainly maybe would have been one of the few options at that point in my life if it needed to be. So yeah, what's the actor's name? Greg Henry? Is that who you said?
He plays Sam, the bad guy. Yeah.
Right. So Sam ends up overhearing Jake talk about how he needs a place to stay. And if you're watching with a careful eye, it kind of looks like, he's forcing his way into Jake's life at this point and sees an opportunity. And Jake, with not really much going for him at this point, is like, yeah, sure. I will go house sit at this place that you need me to house sit, who's actually, it's supposed to be owned by a friend of Sam's or whatever. And they go visit the place, and you have to take an elevator to get up there. And it's this wild UFO saucer looking place that's built into the hillside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
this scene actually is the reason why, or one of the main reasons why. I was trying to remember the name of the movie. I think Maxine feels very DePalma-esque because, the whole end of the movie, don't they take a gondola in that movie too to get to that house?
Is that the word? Is that what you call it? A gondola?
I think it's a gondola. Yeah, I think that's what you call it. They have those on like ski hills and stuff too.
Those weird like elevators that go up to houses on hills.
Yeah.
Okay, a gondola. You've turned me on to that.
It's a gondola, yeah.
Thank you. And it's sort of like a fancy shag pad, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It kind of looks like a place that the ladies' man would live.
Yeah. It looked to me like it was like almost a one room. I don't know. It didn't look like there was maybe a bathroom and giant living room.
Yeah, it does seem like it's mostly one open room. I'm sure there's a bathroom, but besides that, it seems like there's a there's a bar, there's a bed, and there's like shag carpet.
A rotating bed.
Yeah, and all the windows sort of look out into Los Angeles. It's
incredible view, though, for sure.
Absolutely. And one we would find out gets actually even better.
Yes.
So Sam shows him the key perk of the house, which is in a moment that seems straight out a Rear Window where they're peering through a telescope, looking on to another beautiful house nearby, which, by the way, I just have to comment on this. These houses that are like built into the hillside on stilts, I mean, it just feels like a disaster waiting to happen to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing some of those houses were the ones that like go down in the wildfires for sure.
Oh yeah, but it just feels like, I mean, there's earthquakes. Not for nothing, the earth does just like shift a little bit too. I mean, I have a hillside right here with a wooden fence, just off to my right, and every year the wooden fence comes down just like a little more,
Yeah. I'm no engineer, but it doesn't seem safe to me either.
I guess, I mean, obviously, there's a lot that goes into these, and they're expensive homes, so you feel like the people that need to do their jobs are doing their jobs, but it just seems flimsy to me. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I agree.
So he looks through the telescope at Sam's beckoning, and there's a woman next door who, for whatever reason, when she's home by herself, decides to dress up in sexy-ass negligee and dance. Which, Keith, you're married, and I'm married, and as we now have come to find about women, that this is something that they do, right? I'm sure this is your experience.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is one of the negative things about the movie is there's a lot of very far-fetched things happening.
Absolutely.
And this being one of them.
Yeah. But I'm here for the far-fetchedness.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go wherever this movie wants to take me.
Yeah.
That's how much I enjoy the vibe of this movie. Like, take me there. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to buy it. I don't care. I'm here. I'm what you had me at the daytime television piano score.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you notice too in this first scene where we see him, kind of being a peeping tom, how many times he double takes? He looks away like
yeah,
10 times probably and goes back to it each time.
and she's doing a very choreographed seeming dance,
Hmm.
which will actually factor in to the story later on. So he's paying attention, which is
Yes.
good. It's good that our hero's paying attention to the details here. Now he pans over and he also notices someone doing some electrical work nearby. Is that what you describe as happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I was working on some sort of like, I don't know. Was there like some sort of communications thing on that thing? I don't know what he's doing, but he's not actually doing work. He's also spying, I believe,
That
right?
person is also looking on, and we would come
Yeah.
to, and this is where I feel like if there's an area of this movie that maybe would get some like PC flack, it's probably what this character is referred to, which is just the Indian. He's kind of just referred to as the Indian.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, when you get to the end of the movie, though, you find out that it's actually our boy Sam in
of
a
course,
mask. But
it's very Scooby Doo esque.
yeah, for most of the movie, you do just think it's like this scarred or just deformed looking Native
Disfigured.
American dude,
I
and
disfigured was you said scarred or deformed. I went with disfigured. So we found three different
yeah,
ways to describe him. But um, yeah. So I think I'm just gonna, as we talk through this, Keith, I'm just gonna refer to him as the villain,
okay, that
if
sounds
that works
good.
for you. I feel
Yeah,
weird consistently saying Indian. I don't know. It's
yeah, no,
seems
I agree. Yeah, we can
so
call him the villain.
I'm gonna call him the villain.
Okay.
So the villain is also getting, I guess, what we would refer to as the Gloria Revelle show. Where she's doing a little dance in her little number. Here, that song that you were graciously singing to us all earlier, just blasting. I'm pretty sure that's blasting during this sequence. I think it's kind of
Yeah.
like her theme song.
Yeah, it happens multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yes, this kicks off uh, Jake's new mission in life, which is some combination of trying to protect Gloria Revelle and also trying to bang her.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
this is the most Hitchcockian thing, I think. It's very Rear Window.
for sure.
Um, and I think part of it is the fact that Jake, the main character, has nothing really going on. So he kind of is like, oh, I see this hot babe dancing. I'm gonna get invested in this.
Yeah, he is. He's kind of hit rock bottom. His wife, obviously, having the time of her life with another man. He's been fired from his most recent acting role. Not much going for him, but a glimmer of hope here with Gloria, who seems, by the way, filthy rich. Because I know
Mhm.
real estate has only gone up over time, but this place looks pretty extravagant, wouldn't you say? This is a nice ass house.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And when she's doing her little dance number too, I feel like I think it happens every time she does it, but she goes into this safe in the bedroom and pulls out this, I don't know, it's like a diamond
Yeah.
ankle bracelet or something, and she puts that on every time. I thought that was just kind of random because it's never really gone back to, I don't think, unless that's like what they're making it look like the villain is going breaking into the safe
I
for,
think
like the
that's fair. I
jewelry.
think it's fair to say that because we find out this is all for show, right? I mean, we might as
Mhm.
well just put that out there right now. We
Yeah.
find out that this is all for show. So I think it's fair to propose that part of the show is that she's saying, "Oh, and look at these fancy jewels that I have. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a scarred, disfigured villain looking
Yeah.
at me who's also seeing these." So I think
And
that could be part of it.
you're supposed to think along with Jake, the main character, oh, that's what this guy is going after when you see him later on. Like he's going for the money.
Yeah, I not a lot of safes in my life, Keith. I feel like if we were shooting this movie at my house and you were like spying on me through the window from a nearby house and you saw me open the safe, I would pull out this Alfred Hitchcock 4K 4-set straight out of.
That's
So
what we're putting 4Ks in our safes. We're not putting diamond ankle bracelets in our safes.
Yeah, no, the money that could have been spent on diamonds was actually spent on this Alfred Hitchcock Classics collection, which features Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, and the oft overlooked The Birds, which I kind of feel like as a kid I was like not into The Birds, but now I am. Okay, so these are actually 4 of my favorite Hitchcock movies. And
this is what I'm putting in my safe.
What is it?
The chunky box of Wild Things.
Oh, hell yeah. I should have brought that up too. I did, just for the sake, just to round out the Hitchcock physical media segment of this episode, I did also bring Dial M for Murder Blu-ray, but get this, Keith. Dial M for Murder 3D. How about that?
I feel left out. I have to grab my Hitchcock stuff. Featuring,
this is the other one that people say there's a lot of references in Body Double 2, which, look, it's hard to tell because when you watch the DePalma filmography, you're basically like he's operating in doing Hitchcock themes and styles and, you know, camera work from all the Hitchcock stuff. But they do say that Dial M for Murder is one of the ones that's more referenced in this movie. Of course, starring the beautiful Grace Kelly, who it bears mentioning that just one of the most beautiful women to ever exist, wouldn't you say?
Yes. I was sneakily showing off my Hitchcocks.
Oh, good. I, of course, have my notes on the screen, so I can't see what's happening right now. But yeah, that concludes the Hitchcock physical media moment.
All right, Matt, let's reel it back in. We kind of went off the rails there a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. Real quick, before we reel it all the way back in, though, we didn't actually show off our Body Double. Did you? Yeah. Let's see what. So
I have an Indicator Blu-ray.
I have one. It's a company, Carlito. I mean, I think I have like a French copy or something. I mean, on the back it says "Camera Vervolant Atmosphere Oppressor." So, seeing as it's not in English, I'm going to say that I have the French version. But it had a little intro to the movie, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can get some nuggets out of that, which on the back it has a little shot of Jake that looks very Rear Window-esque. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll get some little nuggets out of this intro. Intro by some dude completely in French, no English subtitles. And I was like, nope, I will be getting 0 nuggets out of this intro segment. So, okay. But to your point, let's reel things back in as I, knock the mic over here, which that was almost.
I'm kind of surprised you don't have the 4K of this, though. I feel like you're.
Is there who made it?
It's just a studio release, I believe. There's a 4K steelbook at least. I don't know if they made like a regular, plastic case, but
this was one of those like on a random week of my life where I just got that urge, and I was like, I don't own Body Double, and I need to own Body Double, so I just ordered whatever copy I could find off Amazon or something.
Yeah.
And then it was like a weekend when Lindsay was out of town, and I watched it by myself on a Friday night, ordered myself a pizza, had a couple bevs, like
hence the midnight movie reference.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it felt like. I was like,
this out of town, you're watching Body Double and ordering pizza.
Yeah, right? I mean, now those are pretty much the same nights as if she's in town, but so now our hero Jake is in it. He's got it bad. And it's not dissimilar to how I am with SZA. He is now that way with Gloria Revelle. He's like, I need to just be around this woman. No, I mean, look, no, all joking aside, it does seem like he has good intentions in terms of like trying to protect her. He thinks that this dude is now out to get her, and he is trying to legitimately, make sure she's safe. Although
there's a little bit of a creep factor for sure.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
But you're right though. He does ultimately, I think, have good intentions. Like when we get to the mall sequence,
yeah,
I don't think he initially has bad intentions. She
Yeah,
just happens to leave the curtain open a little bit when she's changing.
sure. Now, did he have to take the pair of used underwear that she threw in the trash?
See, that's where the creep factor comes in. I don't think I would be taking a pair of
Yeah.
underwear out of the trash.
Not to jump forward, but the best is when the cop that's interviewing later like finds that like hanging out of his pocket. And the cop does he actually tells the true story, but the cop does not believe him. And it was like the cop is like, there's no way that's the true story. The true story is you had sex with this woman and then you took this as like a trophy.
Yeah. And he just happens to have them in his pocket still. They're just dangling out like
Completely normal. But yes, really the next notable sequence in the movie is what you talked about, the long shopping center sequence. I can't really remember what happens at the time in between, but basically he sees the villain waiting to follow her by car.
Yeah, I think it's just by chance. I think he's just driving home from the market or something, and the road's blocked by something fell in the road or something, and he's waiting for it to get moved, and then Gloria comes out from her house, and she kind of passes him, I think. But he notices off in the distance the villain again, and that's when he's kind of like, okay, I wasn't planning on following Gloria, but since this dude's following her, I'm going to try to protect her and like see what this dude's up to, you know? He's like, I might be a creep in watching her, but this dude's a bigger creep. I mean, just look at him.
Absolutely. So it leads to a little bit of a car chase sequence, right? I mean, it's regular traffic going on, but there is some moves need to be pulled for everybody to, get into this shopping center parking, this underground parking facility that is there for the shopping center, which obviously must be high end because they have valet parking. Like, not exactly, the Arnott Mall, Keith. It's like a little bit of a nicer situation. But this is probably, I think, the peak of the movie in terms of the cinematic experience. This whole sequence. I mean, it takes forever, but it's so fun. You're so engaged in it the whole time, at least from my perspective. And it's this little game of cat and mouse where Jake is following Gloria, the villain is following Gloria, Jake's following the villain, following Gloria. Like, they're going up an escalator, and at a different part, an elevator is involved. She goes into a store, trying on underwear. Completely bizarre. She just takes the underwear that she's wearing off and puts a new pair on. I don't know. I don't think this is normal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't typically try underwear on. I'm just like, this is my size.
Yeah, I don't think we're all allowed to. I mean, we have to take it out of a package of some sort usually. So I don't think that part's normal, but the worker at the store notices Jake looking on in sort of a creepy way, so she calls security. Jake gets kind of accosted by the security guard, but the security guard just kind of mostly chases him off, and he walks away, then comes back. Then it seems like the villain is got it worked out that she's getting on the elevator and he's going to cut her off on the bottom floor. So Jake inserts himself into the elevator situation and gets on in a moment, and it's just the two of them, and now they're actually like by each other. And
he's got the hots for her.
It's uncomfortable, Keith.
Yeah.
The discomfort in that elevator is palpable.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one of those things where you're like, okay, I think I'm going to make a move. This is my moment to make a move. And then
he kind of starts to go for it too. And then I think the elevator door opens and a bunch of people walk in, right?
Yes. And this, of course, actually impedes the villain from being able to do anything, because when they get down to the next stop, a bunch of people are trying to get off the elevator. So, by happenstance, Jake has kind of saved the day for the moment, even though he really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They end up leaving the shopping center. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said there, other than it really is, for me, the masterstroke of this movie. That whole sequence is just so fun to watch.
It is like the most thrilling part of the movie, and it's extended on. It's still thrilling because this whole sequence continues, and Jake is still following Gloria when she goes to this like beach house or beach apartment or something, and he's still following her. This is a very long sequence, but
I know.
yeah,
So,
it's
yeah.
one of my
Well,
favorite parts of the movie.
I was
too.
thinking of the beach house sequence as like part 2 of this. It
Yeah.
is kind of all one thing, but there's like a little bit of a break at the parking garage where she gets her car and she throws
And
the
Jake
underwear that
gets
she
the
was wearing
underwear.
away. The underwear. And he's still following her. They end up at this luxurious beachfront property, and
Mm-hmm.
you are just like, what? How much money does this woman have? I mean, like, because I think that's supposed to be her place too, right? Like the beach house, or
I
is she?
think so.
It's hard
But
to
isn't
tell.
she's married, isn't she? Isn't there like another guy that you just don't really see?
She's married, but she's the wealthy one.
Oh, okay.
She's married to Sam for real, isn't she?
I was gonna say I think that's what the case is supposed to be. Yeah.
But she also seems to be maybe meeting another guy. Did you get that vibe? I'm not
Uh,
100% sure what's going on at the beach house. I'm not sure if that's her
yeah.
property or if she's meeting somebody.
I don't know.
But
It's kind of ambiguous.
I will say, I cannot believe whenever I watch these movies, I'm always like, the real estate costs of these places must be through the roof. But it does seem like everyone if you're in even The Last Tycoon in the 30s, this guy's building a beachfront house. Now he's a big time, movie exec, but every time I watch these movies, like whether it was Night Moves or whatever, everybody has like beautiful beachfront property.
Yeah, I think that's like the implication though, is she's just in the business somehow or something. I don't know. It's never explained why she has money, but whenever a movie is set in like California or like New York or something, I feel like we talk
Yeah.
about this with New York City apartments too. It's like
It's nuts.
it's never explained, but the main character somehow works at a record store and
Yeah, it has like
6,000
a
square
bigger
foot.
apartment than like my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's just one
but
of those things.
I'm always intrigued by it. I'm always thinking about the financial element, and I'm like,
Uh,
is it if I stopped buying physical media, could I afford a house like this? And I'm like, no, I couldn't. So why don't I just keep buying physical media? Because I'm never going to have a beautiful, beachfront Hollywood house. So, I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to put that out there. Let's manifest this.
We're never gonna stop buying, or I'm never gonna stop buying physical media.
Yeah, let's say it like this. I'm never going to stop buying physical media, and I will have a beautiful beachfront Hollywood house. I think both are possible. Lindsay, if you're listening, both are possible. Although she would never move to California. She would be like, there's not enough blight for me. She's like, I need some character, and there's too much shiny there. I need some grit. So the scene is intensifying. We're by the beach, but the villain is still in the mix too.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake and Gloria do come face to face on the beach, and Jake's like, somebody's following you. And she's like, yeah, I know. It's you, motherfucker. So,
yeah, creep.
She doesn't really say that, but she is like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And it does seem like it's implied that she's saying, yeah, I know, and it's you.
Yeah.
That feels implied to me. But while they're having this conversation, the villain comes up and steals her purse in a very feels like petty crime moment.
Uh-huh.
All this build
I
up.
was expecting, I think the first time I watched this, I was expecting more to happen there. I wasn't expecting him to just run by and steal the purse for sure.
Well, because all the build up, it feels like there's going to be a throat slash or something, right?
Yeah.
Like
I expected a fight to break out or something more than just the run by, steal the purse.
Yeah. So he does steal the purse, and this gives Jake, our boy, the opportunity to be a little bit of a hero, which he completely screws up. Jake follows him into this tunnel, and I'll tell you, Keith, joking aside, I do have a little bit of claustrophobia, like a little bit.
I do too. Yeah.
I'm not really good at like sitting in the middle and having people on both sides of me. Like I get like cramped and kind of start to like I can make it. Okay, it's not the end of the world, but I don't love it. So I have a little bit of I don't like small.
Well, dude,
tight,
I think the scariest part about that movie, The Descent, is the stuff when they're like crawling through those things. But I mean, Jake has it to an extreme extent. I mean, I could
Keith.
walk through some tunnels like this. And
I preface this by saying, the tunnel sequence not triggering my claustrophobia in the slightest. Not
no.
even a hint. You're like, this is
Yeah.
this is not scary. It seems wide open. You can see the light on both sides. But Jake, and this is where I was referring to earlier, he has kind of the same Jimmy Stewart face reaction that Jimmy Stewart does in Vertigo with the heights.
When he looks down the stairwell.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he's kind of like shrieking.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, our villain notices that Jake has succumbed to his phobia and is not going to be able to continue in this pursuit, and then starts mocking Jake and
Yeah.
dumps the purse out and takes a single card, which Jake mistakes for a credit card. It actually is a key card to the house.
Which is very puzzling. If you're watching this movie for the first time, I feel like this sequence is it's like, why does the villain not attack him and try to hurt him or something? You know, you find out eventually why. It's because he's setting this whole plan up.
Yeah.
But to me, it was pretty puzzling. I think the first time I watched
it does feel weird because the villain seems imposing, right? He seems physically imposing. He seems like he could, you know, do some violence.
Yeah.
He could get down with some violence. But he doesn't. He just starts mocking Jake, really, and exits the scene, exits through the end of the tunnel, and a defeated Jake once again has to kind of sheepishly walk back to Gloria. But I don't know, his adrenaline got going or something, and he decides to make a move here.
Yeah. Well, I think Gloria actually has to kind of escort him out because he's like he can't breathe almost. It's
first
like
he's shaking. Yeah, he's still shaking. But then he comes to and is like, all right, I think it's time to make a move.
In one of the most unbelievable parts of the movie, I think, in my opinion. I don't think this is happening.
I agree. I totally agree. It's hard to buy this, but once again,
I mean, I get it. He got the purse, or Gloria at least thinks that he got the purse back. So maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't think that he's got that, you know, swag to pull off a move like this. And then I can't really quite remember where they head to right after this.
I think right after this, I think they kind of go their separate ways.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So they head nowhere together after this, and we eventually end up back at the homes in the, you know, beautiful Hollywood Hills, and Jake is once again looking on, and of course we have the villain making his move on the house, right? In what will be another long extended sequence with a lot of buildup. And this is, and maybe like the funniest part of the movie, this whole sequence when the villain is actually trying to kill Gloria and using this insane, I don't know. I also like Jake. I'm not an alpha male, Keith, so I don't know tools.
Well, I think the implication is he's trying to use this massive drill to break into the safe.
Yeah,
I think that's what the implication is. I think you're supposed to think that he's
that's
not.
True.
He's trying to make Jake think that he's not really there to kill her. He's there to break into the safe and steal the money or the jewels or whatever.
That's what it is. You're 100% right. So that's why this insane drill. I mean, the drill end on this thing is like what, 3 feet long? I mean, it seems insane.
And as goofy as this choice of, you know, killing device or whatever is, I do think this is one of the coolest scenes in the movie because it's just like one of those moments where the camera is just moving so slowly, and I feel like if this was to happen in real life, it would not be happening this slowly, but it's so cool because, like, I feel like the wind comes off of the drill, and it's, like, blowing the villain's hair, kind of, and it was one of my favorite shots in the movie, even though it's, like, such a fucked up part of the movie, like.
I know. That's fun, and then I absolutely love, and I feel like there might be people that hate this, but I absolutely love how when he's closing in on the kill, and he's using this electric drill, and it's got this long cord, and the camera's like focusing back on the where it's plugged in, and then he's almost to the point that he's gonna kill her with it, or at least inflict a lot of damage with it, and it becomes unplugged.
Yeah, I feel like this happens in multiple other movies. I was trying to think about them, and I think the only other one that I could say for sure was this happens in Planet Terror as well, where there's like a buzzsaw or something coming at a guy, and it just becomes unplugged. It's like a horror movie trope, kind of.
It feels a very it feels very B horror. It feels very grindhousey in general. Yeah, but it's great. And this is a long sequence, of course, because they're all long sequences in this movie. And Jake is, I guess he ends up recruiting a couple dudes that are just like running in the neighborhood or something. And it's like, we gotta go. And these guys actually go along with it.
It makes sense story-wise because there kind of needs to be a reason for him to not be implicated as the killer. Right. So, like, the fact that these two people are out running and he gets them to follow him is kind of convenient.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then also, I think it's a kind of a unique way to show the murder, too. Because you don't... If you watch it back, you don't actually see too much happening. What you see is Jake is on the ground being attacked by the dog. And you see the drill going through the ceiling and blood just coming down through it too. Yeah, which is kind of a unique thing. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was cool.
That part's cool. That part's cool. It is funny that Jake is almost able to actually save the day, but it is thwarted by the house dog.
Yeah,
that just seems like a vicious killer.
And where was this dog when the villain was in there trying to bust in the thing? You know, like.
Well, I guess maybe the thing that you're supposed to take out of that is because it's actually Sam.
That's true. Yeah, that's another little nugget that was probably
the dog's not going to attack him. I don't know. It is funny though that he's almost there, but the dog ends up just completely foiling his plans to save the day. So Gloria does not make it. She is killed, and police officer shows up. The villain is able to flee the scene. The police officer just giving the business to Jake, basically being like, okay, it is clear you didn't kill her because there's witnesses that basically say you didn't, but you are a creep and you are a weirdo and
you have her panties in your pocket.
And if you had just called the cops, maybe that would have been a better way of dealing with this. So look, you may not have killed her, but it's your fault she's dead. I mean, the guy just says that. And it's like, I mean, maybe that's a little harsh, but to be fair, I mean,
the cop has a point though. The amount of time it took him to run, he has to ride down the gondola and then run to Gloria's house.
Yeah, I know. So this feels like a whole movie has now completed, right? Yeah. At this point, it feels like a whole movie is completed. And you say, Keith, isn't Melanie Griffith supposed to be in this movie? Doesn't it feel like you're so deep into this before she's in the mix?
Yeah, she's top bill, or not top bill, but she's up there, and she hasn't even showed up yet.
So Jake responds to this whole, hey, I saw this woman get killed. We had just made out earlier in the day. A cop was just giving me the business, which I like when they're having the whole like interrogation. They just casually are carrying Gloria's dead body out of the house.
Well, that whole scene is just hilarious. Yeah, just like I don't know the actor's name who plays the investigator, but he's pretty funny.
I know, he's phenomenal. I love that actor. Just doing that role is hilarious.
Yeah.
But Jake does what any normal person does after being involved in all these types of situations and just decides to call it a night and watch porn. Is that what happened? I think that's what's happening, right? Like he's just putting on porn back at the.
I think. Well, you see the whole place that he's like supposed to be taking care of is completely disheveled. There's just like pizza boxes and trash everywhere, and he's just like. I think his thing is like he's like, man. First, I see my lady getting boinked, and then I almost make it with Gloria, this beautiful woman, and then she gets murdered. He lost his job. He's going down the shitter. He's like, I'm just going to tie one on and watch some porn and maybe crank one out.
And eat pizza. So, but he happens to notice something in the porn that he's watching, which is it Holly Body? Is that her porn name?
I think that's her screen name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holly.
She's
Yeah. Holly.
doing the exact dance that
Yes.
Gloria Revelle was doing.
Which I gotta say, if I was in Jake's position, I don't think that I would recognize the dance.
Probably not. I don't think so either.
You gotta be very observant to be like, oh, that's the same exact dance, and then connect all these dots and be like, oh wait, hold on, maybe this is a body double situation here. This is the most ridiculous, unbelievable thing in the whole movie, and it's the most important thing in the whole movie too.
I totally agree. It's the most insane leap.
I kind of hate it, but I also kind of love it. I don't know what to say about it.
Oh yeah, I want to be on the record that I love this movie. I think this movie is so watchable. Like, it's so fun to watch. But I'm 100% with you. The leap to, oh, it wasn't Gloria Revelle I saw dancing in the window. It was actually this porn star Holly Body dressed up as Gloria Revelle because she's doing the same dance.
There's no way two girls can have the same dance moves, you know. And that's what makes it even. This movie is so far fetched. Like, the fact that that's the villain's plan is to be like, okay, we're gonna have this porn star come and do this dance, and it's gonna make Jake believe that this is the woman that's being killed. It's so crazy.
But this does propel Jake into sort of part 2 of his life, which is like, now he's going to be confident for some reason. Do you see this? Like, he goes into this whole, the fact that he has the wherewithal to pull this off.
Yeah.
Where he actually convinces Holly that he's a real producer. Well, first he acts in a porn with her, right?
First he goes to the office of like this porn place. Yeah. And this is a really jarring moment in the movie too. I don't want to skip ahead too far, but I think this is pretty much what happens next, right?
Yeah.
So Jake is like, so after he sees the porn, he's like, okay, I got to go talk to this woman and find out and be like, hey, were you hired to go and dance and like set me up to be the witness for this whole thing? It's so far-fetched to begin with. And then the fact that he goes, he talks to the owner or whatever proprietor of this porn business.
Yeah.
Tries out, and then it just cuts from him trying out or whatever to him being in this musical high production value porno.
Well, he is an actor, Keith. I mean,
it's hard to. I mean, I know there's a level of suspending disbelief, but this is like pushing it.
I couldn't disagree more. I totally buy this. No, I know. I'm 100% with you, but I can't remember the song that's playing throughout that sequence, but it's a fun, recognizable one. I can't remember what it is. That
was actually a fun fact that I didn't write it down, but I saw it somewhere in a special feature or something. But that sequence was actually being filmed like for that band's music video.
Oh, wow.
But they didn't actually end up using it, and I didn't write down the name of the band or the song either. But
filibust for a second because I feel like we have to say what song it is because it's a very famous like 80s song, or feels like an 80s song anyway.
Okay, what's the song, Matt?
It's Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Relax.
Oh yeah, relax. Don't do it.
So, a very recognizable song. And it's kind of this weird piece in the middle of everything where, you are just like in a music video all of a sudden. And our hero, Jake Scully, is full on fulfilling his lifelong dream of being a legitimate actor, aka doing porn.
Well, I feel like it's also him kind of fulfilling his fantasy because he sees her doing the same dance, and he's been obsessed with Gloria this whole time. And following her and stealing her underwear and doing all this creepy stuff. And then he finally finds out, okay, wait, actually, he thinks that this is her. He hasn't confirmed it yet, but he's like, wait a second. I'm finally here with this lady who I've been, trying to track down.
And that's the movie, Keith. Body Double. The name of the movie is Body Double, which is like, it's this big trick. It's a deception. When we see nudity in movies and it's not really the actress, it's some other actress. That's the movie. I mean, we're all being deceived as movie watchers, and we're all playing into this deception. So she goes along with this new Jake Scully persona where he's now not just a porn actor, but he's like a producer. He wants to put her in more movies. This is all an act from him. Although I'll say this, Keith, he seems pretty effective as an actor at this point.
This is where you see him actually. Yeah, he's kind of believable. Like he flips a switch and he all of a sudden becomes an alpha male, and he's like,
that's
"Hey,
right. Yeah,
I got this Fonzie jacket on. Let's go."
Yeah, and she's buying it, and she's buying whatever he's selling, and slowly. I mean, I will say there is still always like a reluctance to her. I feel like she can kind of tell that he's full of shit, but she goes along with it. The deal sounds so good for her because it's like points in the movies. They're gonna make her the lead and everything. So she's going along with it, and so much to the point that they end up going back to his place or the place that he's been staying, and she's now, ready to ratchet things up sexually, and he's kind of pumping the brakes a little bit because he knows that he's gotten here.
Wait a second, though. Can we go back? Because one of the funniest parts in the movie is like this party that they go to, and that's
true. That's true. I skipped over the party.
This other like low level actor sees them, and and she's like, "Hey, Jake, how's it going?" Are you recalling what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. No,
and there's this whole miscommunication where Melanie Griffith's character, I can't remember her name in the movie, but she's like she has this miscommunication with this other actress, and where the other actress thinks that she's talking about real movies.
Yeah.
And then Melanie Griffith thinks that she's talking about pornos. I don't know. That's just a really funny moment.
It is.
I didn't want to skip over it.
No, it's okay. That is like a fun interaction. And Holly is very defensive of Jake, or who she thinks Jake is in that sequence. And it's kind of actually sweet. But I really just was trying to jump to just to get to these final, action sequences of the movie. Jake is pretty quick to reveal to her that this was all a ruse. And I think it's a credit to Jake because he doesn't want to hook up with her under these false pretenses. But she's not too thrilled about it. Everything that she was...
Well, he figures it out along with her, though. I think he thinks this, but he doesn't confirm it until he has her listen to the phone because he's on the phone with Sam.
That's right.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's the guy that hired me," or whatever.
Yeah. And she's basically like, "Yes, that was me dancing as Gloria Revelle. It was not the real Gloria Revelle. And somebody hired me to do it. I don't know who it is." They hear Sam's voice on the phone. She was like, "Yes, that was the guy that hired me." And this kind of leads us into the final climactic sequence of the movie. And I can't remember exactly how it all goes down. There's some sort of weird traffic situation with cops. She ends up in the truck with the villain.
Yeah, she's like, "You're
hitchhiking, right?
She
just wants to get out of it."
Believe the story. She's like, even though she was, I mean, you would think it's kind of weird that somebody hired you to just dance in this house like a few times. Well, you got to be thinking that that's a little weird. But
I think
like I said before, there's so much super far-fetched stuff happening with this movie.
Sure.
There's so much unbelievable stuff. But yeah, so she tries to run away. She's like, "You're crazy. I'm just gonna leave." And I think she might cause this car accident.
Oh, potentially. I mean, she's out in the street. She's trying to hitchhike.
Yeah, she's trying to hitchhike. Yeah. And then the killer obviously shows up, and she just hops in his car, and that's when Jake is like, "Oh, I got to go follow them."
Yeah, because, him playing the hero has worked out for him so many times.
Yeah, he hasn't learned to just, dial 911.
But it all leads to this, because he does catch up with them. It leads to this last physical confrontation. There's a grave that's been dug, and he thinks Holly's in it, and she is in it, but so is the villain. And they end up in a fist of cuffs down in the grave, and slowly Jake is pulling the disfigured Indian mask off, and reveal that it is Sam, of course. Whoa! Everyone's like, "Holy shit, it's Sam!"
Yeah,
we've already talked about it a million times, and that's what I was saying. Where it's like, it does feel like very Scooby-Doo, where like the mask is being pulled off.
And it also was making me think of Chinatown too. I don't know why. Maybe just like the location close to like the reservoir or something. Like,
there is a little bit. Yeah, no, that is a fair reference point. And but the only real wild thing left to happen is that we actually cut back to the beginning of the movie out of nowhere in the middle of this sequence because
Yeah.
Jake's
So
having his claustrophobia down in the grave that's been dug, and he's back to him being in full makeup as a vampire. Dennis Franz, the director, filming the scene. And I actually saw people online that reviewed this movie say stuff like, "Oh, this whole thing was a dream. What the hell? What a waste." And I'm
yeah,
like,
it
well, did
is
you watch
jarring. It is a very jarring cut because it's like the movie ends basically like I think what happens is Jake kicks the villain like into the water or something, right?
Is it or the dog? Somehow, isn't the
I
dog
don't
back
know.
in the mix?
Basically, the story's over though, and
Yeah,
then for some reason it just cuts to him
yeah,
back,
but
and it
the
makes no
cutting back
sense because earlier in the movie he got fired.
the cutting back happens before the villain is killed.
Oh, it does. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like they're in the middle of he's having his claustrophobic moment down in the grave,
Uh
and
huh.
the cut. I think it's supposed to be this moment of inspiration for him because
Okay.
he ends up like overcoming his claustrophobia,
And
getting into
climbing
the
out. Yeah.
yeah, and then like disposing of the Indian, the villain,
Okay. Yeah.
Sam, like
Yeah.
uh into the reservoir. So it doesn't actually end in that sequence, but it does feel for a minute like the movie's going to be like, "Oh, it was all just a dream."
Yeah.
It feels like that
But
for a minute.
it does cut back again though
Yeah.
to where you see him acting in the because
Yeah.
the final thing that you see is him acting in the Vampire's Kiss movie
That's right.
again.
Yeah, it's over the end credits, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like this doesn't really make sense because if all that other stuff happened, he actually was fired from the movie and replaced.
Yeah, but I think they make a comment about him being hired back.
They okay, I must have missed that.
I think so. It is weird. I mean, if people can't tell, the end of the movie is weird. It does put you on your heels a little bit, where you're like,
Yeah, if you can't
"Wait,
tell
what
by
all
how
happened?"
confused we are.
Yeah. Well, I don't take it that it's a dream. I take it that I take it that everything happened. And
Yeah,
Holly is now like a confidant of his. I don't know.
yeah,
She's now on the set of the movie that he's working on at the end, and they do a little body double sequence where
yeah.
the actress is swapped out, and they kind of show you how they do that and where they cut the
Yeah,
um
it's like he's
uh,
holding his hand up, and they put a bar up, and it's like a little marker for like, oh, this is where the hand needs to be or
that's
whatever.
right. But regardless, I don't think it requires that much analysis because it's just fun. It's just a fun
Yeah,
movie.
there's so much shit that's unbelievable in this movie already. It's
Yeah.
like,
So like I said in my like I think Blowout and Dress to Kill are probably the two best DePalma movies. I think. I mean, look, he's made a lot
yeah,
of great movies. I mean, Carrie. There's a ton of great movies that he's made, but I like the Hitchcock stuff. I like when he's really just going all in on the Hitchcock stuff, and I think Blowout and Dress to Kill are like two very well executed movies that yeah, there's trashy elements to both of them, but they seem more Hollywood production
yeah,
than this does feel like an homage to B movie making. And
yeah,
I love it. Like I think this is the most fun to watch. I love watching this movie.
yeah. This movie is very fun. Obviously, he has some really big hits with Scarface and
The
Mission
Untouchables.
Impossible. Like those are probably his two biggest, most well-known movies. But
Yeah.
I
I
think
would
as
say The
far as like
Untouchables is up there too.
Untouchables too, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I I I think the two that you mentioned though, Body Double and Dress to Kill, are probably the biggest of his lesser known ones, and
I think
Blowout
so.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good way to say it. But I love watching Body Double, and I really felt like there was a lot of movies that I wrote down when we started doing the show together, and I just felt like this one is a great like coming together point for you and me. Like
yeah.
I felt like this is a movie that we would both really have a lot of crossover enjoyment of.
Yeah. I don't think I actually watched this movie for the first time until maybe a couple years ago. I think did you guys do this on your previous show?
No, we actually never did.
Oh, you didn't? For some reason I thought that maybe you guys did it on your show, and then
I
I
think we probably
watched it.
talked about it. I think we talked
Yeah.
about it on there.
I think the reason I might have watched this was because you and Zach talked about it. But anyways,
Yeah. Well, I mean that's kind of it. I know. I mean, maybe this just sort of simmers out, but that's kind of how the movie is. It just ends
yeah.
abruptly, and then
Uh-huh.
you have the whole actual real body double sequence happening, and
Yeah.
then you see Melanie Griffith is still in the mix, which is your clue that this stuff all did happen, or at least
Mhm.
that's the way I take it.
Yeah,
And
no, I don't buy the this was a dream theory either.
yeah, I mean, it kind of makes it feel like, well, what was the point? And I guess that's why people
Yeah.
would be mad and be like, well, this sucks then. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's what I don't think that's what it is.
No, I agree. I don't think either. I do think it's a little far fetched to think that he just gets his job back somehow. Because they
Yeah.
seem to have he had a pretty bad blowout with
Well,
the
it's just new
director.
personality, Keith. That's what it is. He got it back. He now exudes confidence.
Yeah.
And people, he's just a different guy when he walks into a room now. And people are like, whoa,
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we want you back in this movie. So he found his confidence. So this was a little bit longer segment, I think. I don't know. We
Yeah.
say that every time we do Spotlight. Spotlight's a long segment, so sorry. We
Yeah.
both like this movie,
Yeah.
and was glad to cover it. Do you have anything else that you want to say about Body Double?
No, I think this is a cool movie, though. If you haven't watched it, check it out. Okay, Matt, it's time to talk about the homework, and I wanted you to watch Pixar's Soul. What did you think of Soul?
Well, thank you for this because it certainly, let's just say, there were tears shed. There were definitely some tears shed. And it's not even because of the things that happen in the movie. It's just the stuff that it makes me think about. Like, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
heavy movie. It's definitely good. I'm not the biggest animated movie fan in general, so it's
Mhm.
always like a little bit of a hard. I need a little bit of a push to do
Yeah.
animation. But on the positive side of the animation front, this looks incredible with all the New York City. The detail is just so immense. Like there's just so much detail to the jazz club, the sites they're going to. They're in the subway at some points. Like it's very detailed. I was
The
very impressed by that.
the color palette and like
Yeah.
it feels like the most cinematic, even though it's still cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, all the city streets and like just like the browns, and I feel like it has like a very like autumn feel to it.
Agree. So I gotta go to like what I wrote in a letterbox just to get my okay. So this is what I wrote. Well, it successfully hit on two of my biggest fears. One, wasting endless amounts of time seeking purpose and letting life pass by. So that's not the main character. That's the 22 character. That's the one that's voiced by Tina Fey. That's just hasn't even started life because she just can't start. She can't even get something that's like, oh, I should do this because that would be interesting. She basically just shits on everything and is like, I'm not interested in that. Where's my purpose? Where's my spark? And just years are passing by because she just can't even get engaged in life. And she actually starts enjoying it once she's just doing life, which I think is the point. But you know what? It's a heavy thought for me. It hit at my existential core to be like, yeah, I know. And then the other one is what happens to him at the beginning of the movie. That I will die just after getting an opportunity I spent my whole life chasing. Like that happens in this movie. And yeah, I both of those things were weighing heavy on me in my experience through this. It's a funny movie. It's poignant. I mean, it's like everything that Pixar does. It's good. It hits. But holy shit, I just tears streaming down my face.
I know this has nothing to do with what you just said, but I have to point out the fact one of my favorite things about the movie is like right before he dies, there's a whole sequence of like a couple times when he could have died where it's very like Final Destination-esque.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like a crane is carrying like some bricks or something and like almost falls on his head. Like...
Yeah. And it's because he's gotten arrogant in his moment of joy over finally getting the thing that he wanted, that he's just oblivious to the things happening around him. So it's another thing to just, as good things happen to you, take them in stride.
Yeah. It
don't
is a
watch
very
these mammals.
dark movie for
Yeah.
sure. It's a very adult movie, which is kind of why I said like my opinion is if Criterion is ever to do another Pixar movie, I think this fits the bill the most.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. And if they did it, I would buy it. Not
Yeah,
before, but if they do, I'll buy it.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
hey, I like this movie enough that I bought the 4K. So
Good. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah, I just watched it on Disney Plus, but it looks really great. It's just, there's definitely a heaviness to it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, out of all the Pixar stuff, I think it has the most adult themes. I mean, it deals with death. That's the whole theme of the movie. It's like,
Yeah, I know. I mean, they kind of treat it lightly,
yeah,
but I mean, there's a lot of humor to it with Terry the accountant and
uh-huh.
coming back to the last.
Yeah,
But it's very serious at first too. I mean, when he first dies, it is very sad. Like
yeah,
they don't play it that sad, but he's
uh-huh.
in space going off into wherever these souls go, and
And the whole
um,
relationship he has with his mother, where his mother kind of just wants him to be a teacher and like just kind of settle down, and
yeah,
it's a very real thing that I think a lot of people, especially like artistic people, musicians, artists, stuff, probably go through with their parents, where their parents just want the best for them,
yeah.
and yeah, it's
Well,
just
they don't want. I mean, she specifically mentions, I watched what your father went through, which the implication was he's a good musician who just never made it.
yeah,
And look, I think there's a lot of darkness to that. Like all the great success stories of people that make it in arts, even if they had, some darkness in their past or dealt with some things, like there's something that happened. But for every one of those, there's a million like great musicians, great artists, great whatever that just it never
mhm,
happened. And
yeah,
I do think that that's a hard thing. And I
yeah,
do think that there's people on the other side that look at that and they're just like, yeah, but you could have just been a teacher and like had a good normal life.
yeah.
And it's
And
hard
like
on
you
that
said,
line.
it looks at that from like a positive light though, where
Yeah.
it's like it tries. I feel like the message of the movie is to try to just be like, it's kind of like that song, like you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Where like
Yeah.
you can still find happiness and stuff even if you don't totally succeed in the thing that you want to do as like an artist
Yeah.
or whatever.
And our main character here, I do think that he has ultimately done that. Like he's made a life as being a teacher and then he ends up getting his opportunity too. So
Hmm.
he,
Yeah,
I think the people generally in this story is like, you're either going to be a musician or a junkie. Like
yeah,
that's the one that it's like, that's not quite the Pixar approved version, but it's like, those are like the dark stories where it's like you were a great musician but you ruined your life because you spent
yeah,
so much time like in the scene and just doing the drugs and the partying and stuff and you never did anything for stability in your life, so it all ended tragically. I think
yeah.
those are some of the stories that are probably maybe more split, but they weren't going to go there. He's still a teacher who has a
Hmm.
career.
Yeah.
um, but overall, I did enjoy it quite a bit. So,
Well, cool.
um, I because movies that make me cry make me feel good too.
I'm glad you
um,
liked it.
yeah.
I wish Lindsay had stayed awake to watch it with you because I want to hear what she says about it too.
Well, Keith, anything about existential crisis is right up my alley. So Keith, I had assigned you Paper Moon, which I've now assigned you two Peter Bogdanovich movies. But since that
Yeah.
seemed to be a little bit of a dark spot for you, and it's a director that I enjoy,
Hmm.
um, I'm glad to keep on the train. And then there was crossover because you watched a Ryan O'Neal movie last week, and he's also in this, as well
Hmm.
as his daughter Tatum O'Neal.
Yeah.
And I will show I don't, not very good lighting here, but I have the Criterion 4K.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty sweet. It's what do you call it? A digipack?
Digipack, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched my copy too. And before you talk about this movie, there is something that I need to talk about, which is
Okay.
like my 4K player effing sucks. Because
How
this
so?
kept this is a brand new movie straight. I took it out of the shrink wrap for it, and it just keeps freezing. And I have that problem with a lot of
Really?
4Ks. Never happens with the Blu-rays.
You know what
Sometimes I'll take go ahead.
I've heard this. I don't know, but I've heard other YouTubers and stuff talk about this. How the laser or something on 4Ks is different than the Blu-ray laser, so it's like much finer, and
Okay.
people say that they're made on the same kind of discs with like the same material or whatever, but Blu-rays are much less susceptible to skipping and freezing and stuff because
Hmm.
of the laser thing. I don't really know, but that's just what I've heard. But that does seem to be a problem with 4Ks.
I don't know, but I'll play them on my PlayStation, and the same ones seem fine.
Oh, okay. So it's not the disc. The disc
It
doesn't
seems
have
to be
any
the player.
scratches.
It seems to be
Okay.
the player. I mean, I've occasionally had problems with Blu-rays on my 4K player, but hardly ever. I mean,
Yeah.
Blu-rays seem to always play fine. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I need to get another one. I think we talked about this before, but I feel like I just need to get a couple and stock
Yeah.
them up, you
Stock
know?
them up because they're gonna stop making them soon, probably.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe, maybe not. Not the way you and me are pumping our hard-earned income into that industry.
It's funny you mentioned that. I wasn't having. Well, I was having a similar issue with Rushmore, but that wasn't a 4K. I don't know if my disc is messed up or what, but I watched that movie twice, or actually three times, I think, before we recorded. And
Yeah.
every time, the moment when you get to where the headmaster or whatever, Guggenheim, is in the hospital,
Yeah.
it freezes for me every time when it gets to that
Okay.
point. So
That's
I'm
a
glad
shame.
we.
Yeah.
But
All right.
anyways,
So
Paper Moon.
what did you think of Paper Moon?
Dude, I actually really liked it. I was
Yeah.
glad that you assigned this to me. I
It
don't
looks
think it's one of
good.
those ones that I would have actually watched because I don't know. I it just wasn't really on my radar, but I ended up really liking it, and I think specifically because I'm a dad of a girl now,
Yeah.
there's the relationship that
Yeah.
Ryan and Tatum have is so fun.
It is.
It's very bantery. It's like she's such like a strong little girl, and she's just like kind of like the kind of girl that I hope my daughter grows up to be. In a
So
way, I don't want her to be like
smoking cigarettes.
scrapping and being a little hustler, but
Yeah. Yeah, because they're basically con artists. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, look, the first word that comes to mind for me when it comes to this movie is charm. It's just
yeah,
got so much charm. It
it's
also
very
looks good.
heartwarming for sure.
I think it looks good. The cinematographer is Laszlo Kovacs, who's pretty
Hmm.
famous and has done a lot of good movies. Um, I think it looks pretty good, and it's in
Notably,
black and white.
it's a movie that was made in the 70s, right? But
Yeah,
it takes place in the Great Depression.
yeah, yeah,
Which is I don't know, I just think that's interesting. I don't know how many movies like I know we do that a lot now is like period pieces where it's like
yeah.
they'll make a movie now or like 10 years ago or something and it'll take place in like the 30s or something, but back in the 70s, I don't know how often that was happening when they were making,
I know.
older movies, but I thought
Well,
that was a cool aspect of the movie.
I think one of the things I like about it, and one of the things I talked about earlier in the episode, is like I just have like this longing for simplicity. like,
Yeah.
like there's just and even though these two are like they're criminals. I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're con artists selling Bibles to unsuspecting people that are really
Yeah.
undeserving of this thing, and I so that part is a little rough. But I'm just loving this life that they live. Like
Yeah.
it's just this. They just go into these small towns, go from house to house, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
They're
you
just
you hit
two
on it.
con artists
Yeah,
just floating through life.
I know. And it's just nowadays they'd have to like put this all on TikTok.
Yeah.
Incriminating themselves, but like they don't care because it's going to make them famous.
Yeah. It
Uh,
is a very heartfelt movie too though. You mentioned tearing up a little bit watching Soul. When at the very end of the movie when I'm forgetting their names, but Tatum
yeah.
when she gets dropped off at the relative's house or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and she leaves an envelope in the truck next to him, and he doesn't really notice until he goes back and gets in the car or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that it was just gonna be money in there, and then he opens the envelope and it's the picture of her that she had taken while they were at the carnival or whatever,
Yeah.
sitting on
It's
the
very
moon.
sweet.
I got choked up at that
Yeah.
moment. I was like, oh God, like
The best part for me for the two of them is like when they're in the police station and the cops trying to find the money or whatever, and she's put it in the hat and they haven't found it yet and the hat's sitting there. And then
and she goes,
she sees the key to the car Yeah, that. But when she sees the key to the car, and then she's like, "Hey, can I grab my stuff?" And she grabs that, and then she's like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom."
Yeah.
And then like when they start, she's like, "Can my dad go with me or like stand outside the door?" And when they start walking down the hall, and she's just like, "Run,
run!" Yeah. It's pretty goofy. Yeah.
Yeah,
It gets kind of dark there too. Like I thought, for some reason, I thought that they were gonna kill him. I don't know why I had that thought in my head. I thought when he was trapped in that alley, but I guess they just beat him up and take his money. But
I mean, it's sort of like the Wild West still. In the Dust Bowl. Like, I mean, these guys. I mean, you could kill someone, and I mean, it was gonna go, and especially it's the local police doing it.
Yeah. I was just I had anxiety about that part. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kill him, and then this is gonna be like a very, very sad ending, and it actually wasn't. I was surprised.
So you would think Peter Bogdanovich is one of my favorite directors because I keep recommending his movies. I do love this movie. I also like Targets, and Last Picture Show is like one of my favorite movies. But after that, it kind of that's sort of my experience with him. It's that those three. I mean, I've seen some other ones, but he has some weird movies too where he did like a musical type thing, I think with Barbra Streisand in it or something. So it wasn't all like this. It kind of runs out.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, have you seen the movie Matchstick Men? Because this movie reminded me of that a little bit. Because it has a similar just main idea. It's like this guy who is a con artist, somehow his daughter gets brought into it.
Although that ends
kind
up
of teaching her how to be a con artist.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That ends up much worse though.
Yeah, I haven't watched that movie in probably 15 years, so I don't remember how it ends. But I was thinking about that movie while I was watching this.
No, that there is some similar crossover there for sure. So, all right. Well, I think let's not. We're not going to assign each other homework on the episode right now because we're gonna revamp a little bit for next episode, I think.
Yeah, next episode might look a little different, but I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you guys all for watching and listening. We appreciate all the love and support. And you have anything else to say, Matt?
Do it for pizza and go.
Return to VideoTech.